I'll let you do the intro. You're so
Me?
yeah.
But this is your channel, Adam. I can't do the intro.
You just have to. The intro part has to be Adam and Sitch. That's the only difference.
Ready?
Yeah.
Hey now, this is Adam and Sitch here on Adam's channel with your weekly NPR update. Today in the news, we're going to be talking about how everything is racist. That's right. Everything is the fault of white people and white supremacy.
Well, that part's true.
Did you see that there was, I didn't even hear about this until someone tweeted it. In Atlanta, a guy walked into an Atlanta grocery store with like a bunch of guns. And the people saw that and were like, what the hell? And they called the police. And the guy went to the bathroom. And by the time he, I think, was about to come out of the bathroom or came out, and I guess he was preparing a mass shooting because he had like 5 or 6 guns and ammunition all over him.
My God.
The police had managed to arrive before he started, and they arrested him before he actually attacked anyone. And
what?
yeah, and I was like, thank God that the guy was so stupid that he like went into the bathroom, or maybe he was having second thoughts. I don't know, first or whatever, and didn't just like gear up in the car like the massage shooter did and just start wailing, start shooting at people. But it shows
for low IQ mass shooters, right?
Right. Thank goodness. But it shows, we've talked about social contagion in regards to suicide. And it's the same thing with shooters. Like, oh, someone's like, oh, this guy just went to a grocery store and shot a bunch of people. I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah. Copycats.
Though
yeah.
I don't think you're going to hear the news talking about this incident for 2 reasons. The first is that he didn't shoot anyone.
Right.
The second is that he was black.
Oh my God! You buried the lead.
I buried the lead. That's right.
What I said about low IQ, I did not mean. That was I had no idea. Don't get me in trouble, Sitch. What are you doing? What are you trying to do?
That's right. That's right.
We'll have the serfs calling me a race realist in no time.
So it's interesting because we had the massage shooting, which doesn't seem to, still doesn't seem to be motivated by race, and everyone's talking about the white mass shooters, and then immediately precipitating that you had the Syrian guy do a mass shooting, and now we have what appears to be a black guy who was attempting to do a mass shooting. One assumes so.
Crazy stuff.
The narrative's crumbling. It's all falling down.
Yeah, they're gonna hang on to it anyway. It doesn't matter, the reality doesn't affect the narrative at all. It's completely it's metaphorical truth, basically. They're running on metaphorical truth here, so
of course,
it's not going to change the narrative. They're pick and choosing. The whole media is cherry picking, basically. So
yeah, it's so sad that this is the state of our media apparatus. Our institutions that are supposed to be providing us with information are just failing miserably.
I wonder if we made a law that they only could provide facts in no narrative form. But narrative is how people learn. Narrative makes things so much better.
Right.
Metaphor makes things so much better. So much easier to understand. We're always looking for the best metaphor to explain something.
The problem is you'd say, like, okay, so if you pass a law, which first of all I think is ridiculous, but say hypothetically, you passed a law that said news media can only report the facts, no narrative. It wouldn't change because, as you said, they're cherry picking.
Oh yeah, they cherry pick the facts.
Yeah, they just don't. So much of the misinformation we get is because the media will say, okay, well, we're not going to report anytime the police shoot an unarmed white person. We're only going to report on times they shoot an unarmed black person.
Yeah.
And then it creates this complete false perception in people's minds about the reality that we live in.
Yeah, I shared a tweet from the donut operator. He's a cop YouTube channel here. I don't know if you watch him, but he's pretty popular.
I thought you shared it because I retweeted it first. But yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay, so you did see it. No, yes. So yeah, no. He has like a list of mass shooters that are all black.
Right.
Like, oh my God. This is just narrative destroying.
Yes, because they always say, oh, the mass shooters are all white. Andy No actually had like a picture that had all the faces of all the mass shooters from like 2019 and 2020. A lot of not white people in there. But I'd be curious because I have to go through to look at them. Because usually when the problem is that colloquially, when people say mass shooter, they're specifically generally referring to a shooter who just randomly starts killing people for no perceived reason. Which I'm assuming when you look at the Andy No list,
it's gang
just
violence.
Yeah, or not necessarily gang violence, but just I think mass shooting is anyone that kills more than 4 people at once. Yeah, so that's not how most people think of a mass shooting specifically in terms of the random acts of violence.
True. Yeah, they're talking about someone who's going for a kill count.
Right. Now, if I looked into this, maybe I will because I am curious. If it turns out that yes, even random acts of shooting more than 4 people are done in large part not just by white people, then I'll be like, holy crap, the media's straight up lying to us about this.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't
Stragic spray in the chat says not even a duffel bag. I think he's referring to the guy walking in. No, actually had a wheelbarrow. He had all his guns laid out in a wheelbarrow.
Oh,
no, I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm making this up. Yes, he's walking through the store with his wheelbarrow. I got all my guns in my wheelbarrow. Just going to the bathroom.
This reminds me, I didn't even think about this. This reminds me of, remember a few years ago, there was a black guy who was open carrying in a Walmart. And
that guy got shot.
Did he get shot or something like that?
No, he picked up a toy gun and he was walking around with the toy gun.
Oh, you're right. It was a toy gun. You're right.
And they came in and shot him. Of course, that got in the news. That's like the narrative. Oh, yeah, of course. Right. That adds to the black guy who's definitely going to get shot narrative.
I mean, look, that is super fucked up.
It is totally fucked up. Yes. Captain Smith says, Sitch and Adam, a more reliable news source than the MSM. That stands for mainstream media. If you aren't down with the kids' lingo, Sitch, I know I know sometimes you're behind on this stuff. The Butter Anvil for $2 says, people are censoring 6 days in Fallujah. Hi, Rags. What's 6 days? Is that something
Isn't that a movie
that happened?
6 days in Fallujah. Oh no, it's a video game.
6 days.
There was
wow.
It was weird. There was someone who's like associated with some Batman video game. Mm-hmm. I don't know which one, who was calling that all these sorts of tactical shooters that look like a real life war game should be censored.
What?
And I'm like, I don't think someone who makes video games should be calling for other video games to be censored.
That's pretty crazy. Fallujah's I read a book from a tank commander in Fallujah, and the first chapter is like amazing. He was at the Battle of Fallujah and he got shot in the head with a rocket powered grenade. Like it literally exploded on his helmet. God. He lost his eye and he ended up pretty much intact. I think the guy actually ran for Congress, but the intro scene, just all the tank commander jargon and shit. Oh, it's so amazing. So amazing. I love that military stuff.
I like how Kotaku, this is the beginning of their article. They say the rebooted war crime simulator 6 days in Fallujah got its official gameplay reveal.
Oh,
I like
my God.
War crime simulator.
War crime. Yeah. Boy, they really did pick up the lake off framing thing, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's frame this in the most negative light humanly possible. Although all you're going to get is a bunch of guys that want to play that. What? Okay. What? A war crime simulator? Let me download this shit now. All the people who are like you and me, good red-blooded Americans who wouldn't harm the hair on somebody's head, of course, unless they had it coming, right? Mm-hmm. Of course, allowing us to participate in war crimes that don't actually hurt anyone. Holy cow!
That was literally that was Call of Duty. That was Call of Duty Modern Warfare. The second one was wasn't that the opening mission? You're the false flag Russian gunning down all the innocent civilians.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
hilarious. Yeah,
Spec Ops: The Line, which is like you commit war crimes, but it's like it portrays them negatively. Like you accidentally white phosphorus like a bunch of innocent civilians.
Oh man,
and it's crazy because like after you do it, you like walk up to like their burnt corpses and there's like a child there, and you're just like,
oh my God, you're kidding me. That's like a little bit too far for me.
Well, but the point is that it's bad. I mean, it's not.
You're supposed to feel bad.
Yeah, you're supposed to feel terrible.
Well, the thing is, though, I think that could be desensitizing people. The whole idea is, you can participate in those acts, but they don't actually hurt anyone. I mean, that satiates the desire we have to participate in heinous stuff. It actually, the thing that makes it interesting is the fact that in the video game, I can imagine myself having but if it was real life, immediately it would be a completely different experience, and I'd be petrified to do those kinds of things to people.
Right. Well, but the question, that's the question though, is if you do these violent acts in a video game, are you sublimating them and thus satiating your desire, or are you conditioning people to want to seek it out in real life?
I think you are satiating the shadow. You are integrating your shadow. I think secretly people do have the desire to do this, not necessarily to innocent people, but they have the desire to do this to people that they feel have wronged them. So
I don't even know if I would say it's like, I don't think it's a secret. I think it's your baser animal instincts is to, fight the other tribe, especially if you're male.
Totally.
No, and I agree. I've never been convinced, and I've never seen the research that supported this, that having people play violent video games conditions them to seek out violence in the real world or anything beyond that.
I think there are some studies that show that they actually reduce violence, to be honest with you. I always
thought they were just kind of they didn't really show one direction or the other.
No, they reduce violence. Yeah. We need to airdrop Xboxes to some of these violent nations.
There you go.
And let them take it out on each other on the internet instead of actually killing each other.
What that would do is all the young males that would be participating in violence would instead be just too entertained playing video games.
Yeah, that's what you want. That's exactly what you want.
They're actually, you know what, now that you say it, there was this really famous study, I think, that showed there's this huge drop in crime at these specific time periods, I think, in violent cities. And someone realized it was right on the release of the new Xbox or PlayStation consoles, there'd always be a big drop in crime because people would be playing video games instead.
Yeah, there you go.
It was hilarious. Exactly. I was like, there you go. Video games actually prevent people from violence, not the other way around.
Nigel Savoy for $10 says, either of you see the talks between China and the U.S. a couple days ago? It got a little tense there. I did not see the talks. Did you, Sitch?
I saw people talking about them, but no.
Oh, okay. We always get our information third hand from Twitter. Yeah. What was the deal? What were people talking about?
People were saying that the American guy sucked and got his ass kicked by China or something.
Typical.
Yeah, and then there was other ones saying it was some super tense standoff, going back, and it's always funny because it's going back and forth between the interpreter. And to me, it's even extra funny when the interpreter is a different gender than the speaker. I don't know why. It just seems like you're talking through a Siri or something. I don't know. It seems funny.
Yeah. Since I don't know, since Biden went with the "Make America Lame Again" motto during his campaign, I can't imagine that's going to go very well with her.
Really? That was the campaign slogan? Make America lame again? Wow.
With their China, mala, maladaptive.
Oh,
Aydin Paladin says there's no evidence. See Ferguson et al. 2010. What? Ferguson is where they studied video games. This video game thing.
There's no evidence. See Ferguson.
I'll send Aydin. Aydin, if you want to come on, I'll send you a link.
But
you probably don't want to come on. You probably want to just enjoy your tea, enjoy your coffee, or whatever.
Hitman study: violent video games exposure effects on aggressive behavior.
Don't you love it that she has Ferguson et al. 2010? I've been doing that, Aydin. Instead of just saying it's in this book or that book, I use the author, and then whenever the book was published, to basically say Darren Asamoglu, 2012.
Results indicate that randomized video game play had no effect on aggressive behavior. Real life violent video game playing history, however, was predictive of decreased hostile feelings and decreased depression following the frustration task. That's interesting. Results do not support a link between violent video games and aggressive behavior, but do suggest that violent video game reduced depression and hostile feelings in players through mood management. Okay, so that would align with what you were saying, Adam. That it would actually seem to be beneficial in some regard.
Yeah, exactly. They get all that testosterone getting busy.
I click back. I see John Smith says, "Adam, let me fight you."
John, how's your audio? I'm a little hesitant to let people on and just get in a bad audio situation. So, but I want to talk a little bit to Sitch about political video or political movies and propaganda and stuff like that.
Before we change the topic, though, because you mentioned that guy that got shot in the head. This is crazy. So, are you familiar with Tammy Duckworth?
Yes.
So yeah, Tammy Duckworth, representative in Illinois, she lost both her legs.
Right.
In Iraq. Okay.
Yep.
So American hero. She was a UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter. She was co-piloting, and it was hit by an RPG.
Mm-hmm.
And she was the first American female W amputee of the Iraq War. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I say American hero, right? But then this shows you how bad the mind virus of wokeness and racism is.
The parasitic mind virus.
Parasitic mind virus. Because it was yesterday or the day before she came out and said that she was going to block all, I think, future nominations the Biden administration puts forward if they're not Asian or LGBT.
What?
She said she's going to block all white nominations because she felt there wasn't enough Asians. And I was like, holy shit, this person's like lost both their legs for our country, and they're getting sucked into this mind virus woke parasite nonsense. It's so sad, Adam.
Insane.
It's so sad. I don't know what we do.
We have to get down on our hands and knees and pray to God. We have to convert to you'll have to convert to Christianity, because as you know, Christianity is the only one true religion. So the only one that God listens to.
I thought
you have to end your prayers correctly. You have to say, in Jesus' name I pray. Otherwise, it's like all just lost in the ether.
I mean, I've been praying to Odin this whole time. You know, I got to die in battle to make sure I go to Valhalla.
Yeah, that sucks. Sucks for you. Hey, I sent you the link, Aydin. Aydin said she wants to come in. So.
Oh, cool.
But since I think we are up about $1,000 since we added our.
Nice.
Since we added our
24-hour stream.
24-hour stream, yeah. And I was very careful. About the wording here, because I was like, oh my God, we could hit 60,000 in the future, and then we have to do a 24-hour stream. No.
Oh, it has to be.
You guys don't understand. We really don't want to do this 24-hour stream. This 24-hour stream is something we're not happy about. So 60,000. If our campaign hits 60K before 6 p.m. Pacific on Sunday, March 28th, Sitch and Adam will continue streaming the Sunday show until 1 p.m. Monday, 24 hours. You know, it was so painful to write 1 p.m. Monday. I thought 1 p.m. Monday. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like my whole Monday is going to be gone. I'm going to I'll have to go straight to bed. So there you have it. I'm a little skeptical that we can do it anyway. So as we get closer to it, I'm going to be like, oh my God, please, no, no, make it stop.
No.
What I think John Smith maybe replied. What did John Smith?
John Smith. This is what you want to talk about MMT, right?
I think he did. Well,
we don't know anything about.
I was rereading MMT. I was rereading the deficit myth all morning long because I wanted to go back on the trade imbalance. She has a whole chapter that's on trade and how whether or not a trade deficit is bad or not. And there is certain situations where the trade deficit is bad and ways to get around that through MMT. But I was curious about that stuff. I went back and reread it. I'm also arguing with a lot of people in the chat or in the comments about MMT, but when I ever respond to them, it's like they don't necessarily know what I'm talking about. So it's like, I don't know if it's even any good to respond.
No.
Here I had one.
Al Sharpton threatens to accuse Joe Manchin of supporting racism if they don't vote to kill the filibuster.
What?
Civil rights leader and MSNBC host Al Sharpton threatens to accuse Senators Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Christian Simmon of Arizona of supporting racism over their approval of the Senate filibuster, saying the pressure that we're going to put on Sinema and Manchin is calling the filibuster racist and saying that they are, in effect, supporting racism. Why would they be wedded to something that has those results? Their voters need to know that.
So they're calling, if you support the filibuster, now you're racist? Is that the
If
bottom
you support
line there?
not ending the filibuster.
Not ending. So if you support the filibuster, then you're a racist.
Well, it's a little semantically different. But it's funny. It's interesting that he would very clearly show you the magic trick, right? Because he's not saying they're racist. He's saying, well, we're going to say it's racist, and then we're going to tie you to it. So why would you want that? Like, he's explaining the trick, like right out in the open. It's very. I wouldn't have thought that he would just explain it like that. That's so bizarre.
What's up, Aydin? How you doing?
Hey, how are you guys doing? I'm good.
You responded to one of my MMT streams too, so you're evidently interested in MMT to some extent.
Yeah, I don't fully understand it. I don't claim to.
No one understands.
I know.
Bullshit. I understand it perfectly.
The thing real quick about the racism claim is that it was specifically linked to Jim Crow was the exact word used. And then today, in the first time that Joe Biden has spake to the said that ending, getting rid of voter ID laws and letting 16-year-olds vote, or excuse me, the laws that we have in place that prevent those things was not just on par with Jim Crow. So this is clearly his favorite thing, even though
I love you, Aydin. Keep talking. Keep talking, Aydin.
Look at some of his voting record history there. He said it's not just Jim Crow, it's Jim Eagle, which is so incredibly offensive. I don't know exactly how to describe it.
What's Jim Eagle?
He said that the fact
that
we do not let 16-year-olds vote and that we require voter ID laws is not just on par with Jim Crow, it's Jim Eagle.
Jim Evil. Oh, okay. I thought you said eagle. I thought we were going with bird. Like there's a crow and an eagle and an owl.
Yeah, that's what.
Jim's got like a whole aviary in his
crows are bad enough, but motherfucking eagles, like that's like a whole new level.
Yeah, no
exactly.
Shit.
An eagle's bigger.
Now I'm super conflicted here because I'm for 16-year-olds voting, but they have to have voter ID. What the hell?
Well,
we have to have voter ID for this shit. We can't let any 16-year-olds
If you look into the House resolution bill, it's get rid of all voter ID. It's basically, I mean, it goes just one step below making voting mandatory, which I mean is not unheard of. Voting is mandatory technically in Australia, for example, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You get fined if you don't vote.
Should be that way.
Well, let me bring up Adam's favorite national artist, Scott Adams.
No, why do you keep listening to him?
And actually, because he said he made my exact point, which he said, if the Republicans want to be serious about voter ID, they need to pass it so that there's some government program to pay for it at least once, or to make the process, facilitate it to be easier for people that don't have ID.
Do you think it's a problem for people to get ID? And the reason I bring that up is
it depends.
It depends.
Well, I would ask, so are there vulnerable people who can't get ID? Yes. But first of all, I think that's a small portion of the population. And secondly, I think if they're having that issue, there are larger issues that probably need to be addressed. If you don't have an ID, you can't buy a beer. Right. You can't drive a car. So there's a lot of issues in place with people who can't get ID. And I remember I posted on Twitter just a little while ago where there was a video from like 2016 where this guy like went around into a predominantly black neighborhood. Yeah. And he asked him, he's like, do you know how to get an ID? And all of them like, yeah, the DMV is on 25th Street.
Yeah. Well, you need an ID here. Let me help you.
Right. Because I think that's insulting to imply that
that
a group of people, that a race of people somehow can't do it. There are people who are, maybe impoverished, who are live in a zone where they would have to drive and they can't drive because they don't have an ID. So it's a bit self-defeating.
The issue wouldn't be that people don't understand that they have to go to the DMV to get the ID. The issue would be however much it costs to get your birth certificate, if you can even get it, or a copy of it, or whatever that cost is. If you're going to require ID for voting, which I'm totally fine for, then there shouldn't be a cost for getting your first picture ID. That's
I do agree that some of the bureaucracy involved in the ID system is ridiculous and it should be streamlined. Yeah. Now, hang on. Here's the really interesting thing, right? When I came over here to the UK, I needed to get my passport because I lost it like a moron. And but I needed to go. Like, I wanted to leave as soon as possible. If you go to DC, so if you have that capacity to go to the District of Columbia, you can get your passport that day.
Otherwise, right, but you have your driver's license, right, or some other ID.
You'd need a state ID, and you'd need your birth certificate and social security card. I know, but that's for passport. A passport is the highest form of identification in terms of
true.
It counts for everything else. So that's just for a passport. And my point is that if DC can do that, I don't understand why it is as much of an issue as it can be in terms of waiting a month, sometimes more, to get an ID.
Mm-hmm.
Your bank can verify you online just by taking your phone number and personal information.
Right.
Why is it so hard for the DMV to do that?
Well, yeah, we could have a more connected system that could very easily figure out who people are. 100% agree with it.
Just more efficient, but not but still making sure people are who they say they are. Just, my God, if you ever tried to call the DMV, I'll show you how inefficient they are.
I remember I had to. I think it's funny, when I was going to go to VidCon that many years ago, I was in trouble because my driver's license was about to expire. And, it was like my driver's license was about to expire and they were switching in my state to like a different one. So I couldn't just renew it. I had to actually go get my picture taken. And so I signed up for an appointment and I had to go to one that was like super far away from me and not like the best area. And I show up with my appointment and there's a line that's like... It's like going like around the block. I'm like, holy crap, this is like a 5-hour line if I was going to stand in this. And I walk to the front and I'm like, where's the line for the appointments? And there is no line for the appointments. I'm it.
Yeah, totally.
Like, what the fuck is happening? Why are these people standing in line? Why didn't they make appointments? So I don't know.
That's the way it works.
I had an issue with the Ohio DMV for years because I got parking tickets and I didn't pay them because I was a college student and I didn't know that there was a problem for not paying parking tickets. So I got my license revoked.
Oh no.
Temporarily, it got suspended. I got temporarily suspended because I didn't pay parking tickets. And then I had moved to another state, didn't know my license was suspended. And the process of trying to pay the DMV was like pulling teeth. I had to call them. They never answered the phone. I had showed up in public and waited, and they didn't know what was going on there. The only way I got it sorted out was by going through an insurance company, and they were able to get in contact with the DMV. I, for some reason, couldn't get anyone to talk to me, not even in public, or not even in person, So the DMV is, the bureaucracy involved in all of the ID thing I get is a bit of a hellhole.
Well, and it's funny that you say that you can get your passport in one day in DC, because I'm wondering, because I know when I had to get my passport renewed, it was like, expect this to take like 3 months.
3 months.
Whatever. Yeah. And I'm wondering if the reason it's so fast in DC is because all the senators and congressmen, they're like, we need on-demand passports in case we need to travel. So we're going to create a system that's super efficient here.
That's probably exactly it right there. Azor Ahi for $2 says, sup, Adam, sup, Sitch, loving all the content, guys. Thank you.
Does it bother you, Aydin, how he says Azor Ahai?
Yes, it certainly does. The prince that was, that's the prince who was promised, my dude.
The Azora Aihi, the monetary policy that was promised.
Azora Aihi. Don't give it to me wrong now. Come on, I have an auditory memory here. Jamie Russell for $2.75 says, fist Quartus.
A Fistak Quartus?
Yeah, I don't know. Is that
a Fista Quartus? I have no idea.
I think it might be Anakin's. I don't know.
Is that one of those things?
It feels like it's a Star Wars related thing, but all jumbled up.
I feel like that's one of those things that you're supposed to say that looks not offensive, but then when you say it like quickly, it's offensive.
Oh,
or something. I don't know.
John Smith says he has great audio. Okay. Well, we'll have you on towards the end and we'll have it out about the MMT stuff. I was just going to share, since I brought it up, this tweet, and this is a lot of my exchanges on the MMT stuff here, because I say, somebody tweets at me, what happens when the interest rates on the debt can't be paid by the economic growth, which seems inevitable if the debt is representative of the money in circulation. I said, do you understand that that we set those interest rates when we sell treasuries? We don't have to sell treasuries. We can let people look elsewhere to invest. This will likely cause the interest rates to fall to zero, and then the problem will be solved, right? Because zero interest rates, like on your money. Interest rates are designed to incentivize people to save. When the economy is in a downturn, you don't want people to save. You want people to spend. That's why we drop their interest rates to 0%, to incentivize people to borrow and innovate and do all kinds of stuff, and to incentivize lazy fucking savers to go out and spend their money.
Or for people who definitely can't afford it to buy houses and then cause a market crash.
That's not a good idea.
Yeah. So, but then he responds, "Oh God, I didn't understand hardly any of that." Why are you guys coming at me telling me I'm full of shit if you guys don't even understand my responses? Isn't zero interest rates impossible? The institutions that make the money are in it for the business, aren't they? No.
Ask college interest rates are often zero.
I responded with a link. Learn how negative interest rates work.
Yep.
Oh shit, Adam! Look, I guess what I just found out.
Get ready. What's up?
Mark Blythe has a podcast where he talks to Stephanie Kelton.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
I gotta listen to that. Oh no.
Yeah, we should listen to that together.
Yeah, that'd be
although I can't wait. I'm tempted to put it on right now, to be honest with you.
No one's gonna care but like the two of us.
To be fair, I don't know who either one of those people are.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Why not?
Stephanie Kelton is the deficit myth MMT guy that Adam really likes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I've seen. Yeah. Right. Well, I've seen. I think you cover
the monetary mama.
You should read the deficit myth. I've told everyone, and this goes for everyone in the chat right now. You are not officially allowed you're officially unallowed to read The Deficit Myth by Stephanie Kelton.
That's right, Aydin. Don't read this book.
Yeah, exactly. That's
how you might be okay. Works. You might. Well, actually, you're right, Aydin. Don't read this book. When you said psychological reactance,
no, you have to say I am not allowed to read it. That's how it works. You're not allowed to read it.
Exactly.
I bet you can't.
Oh yeah.
He's not trying to use reverse psychology. He doesn't want anyone to read this book.
I'm literally saying that this book will stimulate so many psychological reactants in you that you like it will be bad. You will not like MMT if you read this book. So that's why I'm telling people not to read it. There's too much. Although I was rereading it yesterday and I kept thinking, oh my God, this is going to stoke Sitch's his liberal progressive moral intuitions so much. He's gonna be like, I can see him reading the book with his hand over his heart, his little hand over his heart, holding do they give you anything when they turn you into an eagle stick out?
You get an American flag that was flown over the White House in a jet. See, that's what you get.
He's gonna have his flag as his Eagle Scout flag.
I'm gonna wrap it around my shoulders and I'm gonna salute to the book as I read it.
He's gonna be reading. He's gonna. Oh my God! Yes, we need good jobs in America. Entitlement, earned benefit programs, not entitlement programs. Yeah, it's definitely written for a progressive audience. So. Do not.
Well, I tried to read what was it called? Oh, Give Them an Argument, the Ben Burgess book.
Oh my God, I can't stand that guy.
I can't. I really tried. I could barely get back to preface. I really tried, but I could barely get past the preface. Tried. I'll have to go back into it. It's literally sitting on my desktop, like taunting me.
God.
Well, when he talks, it's so loud and meandering and boring. I'd only imagine.
Totally.
Well, imagine how that translates into text. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's very, I would say, condescending in tone, and it's very frustrating to read.
Oh yeah.
I think it's like a debate tactic because we had a conversation with him once, and I swear he would start talking, and I would just zone out. I couldn't even respond to anything he was saying because I was so bored. I was like, oh my God. He was like the energy vampire. He's just draining my consciousness away.
Condescending and wrong is like the worst combination. It's so bad.
Condescending, wrong, and boring as fuck. Like you can't even hate read it because it's just so boring. You're like,
Trevor Nickel for $2 says Jews are grandfathered in. Jesus loves you, Sitch.
There you go.
Trevor Nickel trying to turn you into a Jew
Thank
for
you,
Jesus.
Trevor.
Would you? Maybe there's a lot of Jews for Jesus.
There are not a lot of. There's like two.
No, there are a lot of Jews for Jesus.
I think it was like a thing in the 70s, and maybe 60s. I don't think it really
I
is
actually
so
know
much
a
anymore.
friend of mine, a black friend of mine in high school, his mom was a Jew for Jesus, actually.
Really?
Yes.
A black Jew for Jesus.
Yes, there you go.
That's like the unicorn, right?
That it was.
Cullivar for $5 says, my mic is better than yours. You know how, Adam? Because S class is the best class.
S class is best class.
Also, the Rhodes mic and Focusrite helps. Yeah, definitely. Rhodes mic is good stuff. Good stuff. Are you gunning to come on, Cullivar? Someone sent me a DM, so maybe Cullivar was the one that DM'd me. So,
did you want to say anything about the video game stuff, Aydin?
Oh, what? Yeah. Well, okay. Really quickly to get back to that point. So, I actually just wrote about this today, but it's something that has always really been like kind of a just soft spot in my heart.
Close
of research.
To my heart as
it
a
is
gamer. Yes.
Very actually, it's multifold, right? It's because I like video games and I like social science. So there was what I can only describe as an academic rap battle between two groups of researchers that happened in between 2007 and 2010. And it was the Anderson et al. Cohort. However, the second one is not published under Anderson, who published it. I'll get into that. Because it's a little bit skeevy. So in 2007, Ferguson, solo author, publishes basically this critique that says, I can't find any evidence that video games are causally linked to violence, which caused a big stir in the social science community because it had become something of a truism, right? So, of course, video games cause violence. Again, this is 2007, so
right.
This is like height GTA,
right?
Moral panic. I mean, I guess it's after the height. I think at this point, even Jack Thompson had lost his license to practice. But it was around that era.
When was Columbine? Oh, Columbine was 99.
Oh, Columbine, yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't shortly after.
But this was, around a bunch of these issues. And Ferguson comes out and says, I don't think so, and here's the data. And then Anderson et al., with a cohort of researchers, come back and what I can only describe is like slap Ferguson and go, no, you're dumb, with a giant meta-analysis. And the problem with the meta-analysis is that 75% of their meta-analysis. Now, what is a meta-analysis? It's supposed to be a collection of data from a bunch of different researchers who have all collected this data, and you're coming to a conclusion based on meta-analytical methods so that you can be pretty sure that whatever you're observing is not due to random error, and every study within the meta-analysis is already controlled for random error. So you're really sure with the meta that this isn't fake. This is an actual connection between two ideas. First of all, not a single one of these studies has ever been able and cannot ethically ever assess a connection between games and violence, because it would be unethical to have someone play a video game and then put a knife in front of them and then have someone insult them and see what they would do, right?
Oh my God.
We could not experimentally test for that. So the way that
fun if we could, though, I'm telling you, I would do that experiment.
It sure would be fun, but unfortunately, because of that Zimbardo prison experiment stuff, we can't do that.
Everything.
Zimbardo.
So instead, the way that we operationalize violence, because we can't do violence, is aggression, and it's mediated through arousal. And arousal is almost everyone, when they've played a video game, has gotten aroused, and let's use that word not the way it's typically used.
I always get a stiffy when I'm killing people. Yes, of course.
Makes your palms get sweaty, mom spaghetti, and that's what arousal means. It's increased. Yeah, like when you're in a clutch situation, it causes arousal. So what they are looking for is a relationship between arousal, gameplay, and then mediated, through arousal, and then into aggression. And the way aggression is operationalized is, because we can't give someone a knife and see if they stab another person. That would be wrong. Is to see if people will play a loud noise in someone else's headphones and what decibel level they'll set the loud noise to. So let's be clear that that's what we're measuring aggression as.
Are they actually doing it, or they just think they're doing it?
They think they're doing it. Okay. Right.
Gotcha.
No, because that would be
right.
Yeah, because that would be unethical.
Yeah.
But you always have to ask the question: is that aggression? Is playing a loud noise aggression?
It's being an asshole.
It's certainly being an asshole, and it's not anything different. I guess you'd see on like Xbox Live, but actually far less, I guess.
Right.
But the problem with the Anderson analysis, the clap back to Ferguson, was that 75% of their studies were unpublished research from their own cohort.
Interesting.
It was 75% unpublished research from their own laboratory that they included in their meta. And when Ferguson pointed it out, Anderson and just came back and was like, no, your meta-analysis is crap. Anderson goes back again and basically says, no, you, and also you're a bunch of alt-right. He didn't say alt-right, but accused them of like political crimes, essentially. Wrong think kind of stuff. And that's why I call it an academic rap battle, because what I just described you would never get if you just read it and you haven't read 500 other academic studies,
sure.
But it is so spicy for something published in a journal. But it's basically just an argument back and forth between two groups of scientists. And the reality is that Ferguson had the data on their side. The Ferguson side being, as you read earlier with the abstract, games don't cause violence. They might be linked to increased arousal, which is understandable, of course.
Right, sure.
But violence and even operationalized aggression, there's no evidence.
Right.
No, and the total meta-analysis there, it's something like 10,000, 15,000 studies. Nothing.
Does it reduce violence at all?
Ferguson found some evidence for that.
Yeah, there you go.
It depends on the kind of game. That if you're playing like a cooperative game, absolutely, I think you could see a decrease in violence potentially. And that could be a violent cooperative game, by the way. You're playing Team Fortress 2 or something.
I don't know.
What about angry?
People get pretty mad when you fuck up in those games.
True. The point is that the games cause violence thing is there's no real evidence for it that's in any way convincing scientifically.
Right. I wonder if that's
$1.99 says, Adam, let me on, please.
I wonder if that's the same meta-analysis that Destiny was always citing about video games causing violence. He's citing like this really terrible meta-analysis. Wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, she's reading the chat. Gotcha.
Yeah, I did for a second.
Charles Carlson for $4.99 says, I'm at work right now, so I can't watch, but please take my money. Take some money, rather. Thank you, Charles.
I gotta just close out the chat so I don't accidentally do
that. That's okay. No, that's okay. John Smith for $1.99. Voting age, not MMT, for fuck's sake. Okay, so John wants to talk about the voting age.
Oh, wait a minute. So you're in favor of IDs, Adam, for voting. So, but if you're in favor of there not being a voting age, like, are we giving like IDs to 4-year-olds to vote? Like, how does that work?
No, you have to have I'm in favor of abolishing the voting age.
Right.
You still have to be able to tell if it's an American citizen voting. What are you doing, Sitch?
So 4-year-olds are going to have little like voting IDs?
Well, I mean, I guess, sure. I mean, we give people social security numbers when they're born now.
True,
so I mean, I don't know why. Like,
Well,
wouldn't the best place to give them their voting ID card be at the hospital when they're born? I mean, gee.
But what you need to get a voter ID is your social security card, which you get when you're born, which you can lose. But the reality is, what we were talking about earlier, though. So, like, oh, you need to have all this stuff to get your ID. You really need a social security card. And I mean, which you get when you were born, along with your birth certificate. So you have these things inherent if you are an American citizen. You have these things. Your parents, unfortunately, it's in their hands to take care and make sure that they preserve it. But if you have a social security number, then you can get the stuff. So
I do like Adam's idea that
do you really
they hand you the baby in the hospital, and then they also hand you like the baby's ID,
voter ID card? Yeah.
It's just a little picture of their face.
Do you really think 4-year-olds are going to be voting? I mean, this does present a problem. If you're going to make voting mandatory, then obviously you can't make 4-year-olds vote.
Adam, if there's no voting age, every person that votes is going to bring their kids, and their kids are just going to vote how they vote.
Do whatever their parents tell them. Moreover, which is in this House resolution bill, if they make it so that if they make it so that mail-in voting is mandatory, they don't have to take their kids to the voting station even. They can just go in and fill it out at home.
What's wrong with that?
This is what little 4-year-old Timmy really wants.
He
just wrote cookies and ice cream on the voting.
We give people tax exemptions for their kids. Why not throw an extra vote at them? What the fuck?
There you go. That's one way to promote people having more children.
Don't you want people with kids voting more anyway?
Well, I guess the argument is
they're invested in the society more than anyone else. Sorry,
voting.
I keep cutting you
No. Voting is a right, but so too is the ability to have sex with other people, and so too is the right to drink alcohol. But we have restrictions on these things for reasons
because you can do more damage by drinking alcohol and having sex with people than you can voting.
Wait, drinking alcohol and having sex with people is not a right.
Well, no, I mean you have a right when
that's a privilege.
I guess. Well,
trust me, I've had sex with some people. It is a privilege.
It is a right only in that you're legally allowed to do it, and you can choose whether or not you want to or can. I suppose.
I would just say I would be careful legally. There's a difference between like a right and you can just do something because it's not illegal.
Well, I'm not really sure what the difference is in practice because
it has to. It's why like the police are like they always say, "Oh, driving is a privilege; it's not a right." They can take away your ability to drive. Like a court can say that you can't drink alcohol or can't have sex if you're like a predator or something.
And as we can say that you can't vote if you're a felon.
Sure, exactly.
So by that definition, I would say that voting is a right, just as a lot of other things are rights that you can choose whether or not to utilize and to engage in. You can choose not to vote. You can be a conscientious objector. You can choose not to drink alcohol. You can choose to be abstinent. You can also choose to not do those things. But to make voting mandatory, to me, sounds like making it so that on their 21st birthday, everyone has to try alcohol. That you have to do it, or you have to do it once a year or something. I don't understand the mandatory nature of it. In a participatory government, it's your choice whether or not to participate.
Yeah, I just
want to be on this recently. Rights are just things that are guaranteed to you under the Constitution.
Guaranteed that you're allowed to do,
right?
But you're also allowed to not do them.
Sure. No, but I'm saying the Constitution doesn't say you're allowed to fuck people or drink alcohol or anything.
Sure. And then in that case, we do have local laws for that.
Okay, here you go, Aydin. This is the best way to structure the argument. People who want to limit voting rights to specific demographics are the clearest example of authoritarianism we have. These people want to decide the policies that will govern your life because they know what's best for you. There you go. Well, how do you respond?
I don't want to limit voting rights to anyone who's an American citizen above the age of 18.
Well, that's limiting voting rights. That's
you're
limiting voting rights to 18-year-old. 18-year-olds is above 18 is a demographic.
Why then do we have local laws that specifically prohibit people from under the age of 18 or 16, depending on your state? These are state level laws from having sex with people who were 30, 40, 50 years old.
Because those activities are to protect the individual. Those are dangerous activities. Voting is not a dangerous act.
Sex isn't a dangerous act in a normal, healthy context.
Well, yes, it is because there's a risk of pregnancy.
Wait. It's not just a dangerous act because like under 18, you can't sign contracts. The idea is that when you're under 18, you're not culpable for your behavior the way you are when you're an adult.
And that's if those are the kinds of
that's not necessarily true, but
that is true.
Yes, your brain doesn't stop. Your brain does not stop developing. Not entirely.
You're not culpable for any of your behavior below.
No, you are, but you're
crazy.
No,
oftentimes, young people have gotten off even on like extreme murder charges because they're under the age of 18. Because they didn't necessarily understand what they were doing.
People have been tried as adults who do heinous acts.
Right, very true. Exactly, but that's why they have to try them as adults, Adam. Because I think most states,
you're dancing around it. You're not addressing.
No. I'm trying to address it. Okay. I think in most states, the reason that they have we tried you as an adult if you're like 17 and you murdered someone is because if you get convicted as a juvie, I think most states they have to automatically release you at the age of 18. Because there is this distinction between what it means to be an adult and what it means to be a child.
And often, in most cases, whatever you did does not end up on your permanent record. So if you killed someone and you're not tried as an adult, in many jurisdictions, I don't know in all, but I think that gets expunged from your record.
None of this has to do with the argument, though. The argument is
the reason why
we're prohibiting people from doing things that are dangerous. And voting is not dangerous. Like drinking and driving will change your life in ways that are unimaginable compared to whether or not you voted for Trump or Biden.
Sure, and I agree with that.
There is no wrong answer when you vote for Trump or Biden.
I agree with it. But
I don't know if people would agree with that.
Yeah, well, I think the premise of these kinds of laws, which is that people who are under a certain age, like your brain doesn't stop developing until you're 25, 30.
Nice.
But
you're going to go down the planned economy road. Okay.
No,
are you in favor? Are you in favor of planned economies, Aydin?
Let's not invoke Adam's law of straw manning. Okay.
Well, wait a second here. Wait a second. If you're saying that we can only have the smart people voting, which is in effect what you're saying. You're saying like their brains aren't developed enough. They aren't smart enough. They don't have enough experience. We need the smart, experienced people to vote. Well, why are we letting dum-dums vote then? Why don't we just let the smart, experienced people do all the planning for the economy then, Aydin?
Well, what I was going to say is that by the same virtue that we don't let people drink and we don't let people drive,
because those are dangerous things. You keep
okay. Wait, it's not just that though. Kids, wait, if you're under 18, you can't sign a contract.
Right.
Because that is a dangerous thing.
Not necessarily.
But
it depends on what the contract is. Like they let them sign contracts all the time if they're like smaller level contracts.
It doesn't matter. They're not.
Your parent has to do it.
Your parent has to do it. You're not legally an under 18-year-old is not legally bound to a contract that they sign.
They're not agentic. They don't have agency under the law on pretty much anything unless they become a liberated. Is that the right term?
They do have agency under the law. They're not. I mean, they're constricted by the same laws that other people are. They can't murder, steal, commit fraud.
They can and have sometimes it expunged from their record if they get tried as a minor. My point is, it's not that like stupid people shouldn't be allowed to vote, although we could make those arguments. Yeah. But specifically the case with minors is that if we're not going to allow them to do all of this other stuff under the specific rationale, which is in all of these other laws, that they don't have the capacity to make decisions in the way that an adult would, why would we allow them to make this incredibly important decision that, even though while not dangerous, has massive effects?
Because it's not that important. And it like it's crazy to say that it has massive effects. Most people don't vote because one vote does not have massive effects. Okay,
the 10,000 do. Half of the a significant portion of states
definitely, yeah, they do. But do you think below age or 16-year-olds are going to vote in monolith, like they're all going to vote for the same exact policies? Is that what you're?
No, they're going to vote for whoever their parents vote for.
They're going to either do that or they're going to vote for whoever Twitter tells them, and Tumblr, I guess, right? Kind of, whatever social media tells them to vote for.
So all 16-year-olds are going to follow Tumblr.
They're in terms of social contagion, younger people are more susceptible to social contagion than older people. Everyone is susceptible to social contagion, but I think that without even going into the specific data, although I could bring it up, young people are particularly susceptible to social contagion. That's why young people dress alike.
Well,
you know what I mean?
All I hear is authoritarianism. all I hear is authoritarianism.
Now, don't worry. Whenever the voting age stuff comes up, Adam goes into full straw man mode.
These people. But you don't want to let people decide the policies that are governing their lives.
Do you think children should be able to own property?
Hell yeah, I'm a fucking libertarian. Of course they should be able. They should buy property. You should be buying property when you're 12.
Mm-hmm.
I do think kids should start their own businesses.
Yeah,
no shit.
No shit.
Right. But kids can't own property, Adam. So it's not just a question of things done for their
You know why they can't own property? Because they can't fucking vote. They have no political power whatsoever.
That may be, but that's not my.
Why do you think blacks couldn't own property? Why do you think women couldn't own property? Because they didn't have the vote. They didn't have any political.
Kids also can't consent to medical treatment without a parent, which is part of what
they can't consent to sex.
That's bullshit. They're having double mastectomies now without their parents' consent.
Well, I was about to say that's except for they're trying to now pass this stuff with the trans stuff that they have this exception.
It is, and the thing with the thing with children don't have the mental capacity.
You haven't addressed any of my arguments.
Well, wait a minute. No, I'm trying to address your first argument, and also children can't be sued. Okay, so
hold on, none of that stuff has any.
Yes, it does. You said
why?
Here's
your argument.
No. No, hold on. Your first point, Adam, was you said we only don't allow kids to do things that are dangerous. And I said, that's not true. Society has a very clear idea about the distinctions between being a minor and adult, and the fact that minors don't have responsibility and culpability for the actions the way adults do. And it's not just about danger. That was my point. Now are you agreeing with that or are you disagreeing with that?
Where are the examples that you're giving?
I said owning property, consent to medical treatment, the ability to be sued, the ability to enter in most types of contracts.
All of this is danger, potentially.
Not necessarily. Owning a property isn't danger. Being sued isn't necessarily dangerous.
It can be totally dangerous. Yeah, exactly.
Well, anything could be potentially dangerous.
That's my point.
My
point is, yes, anything is dangerous. Life is dangerous.
The reason why they cannot consent to contracts is because they're worried about somebody putting a contract in front of them and they're fucking selling their soul into indentured servitude. Okay, that's dangerous.
So we can have the same thing with a politician.
But
if you vote for me, there'll be no more homework in America. I'm abolishing all homework in America.
You do not seem to understand. Yeah, okay. If Biden comes out with I'm abolishing all homework, he's going to get guaranteed. He's going to get the entire constituency of 12-year-olds voting, right? But other people are not going to go for that. He still has to cobble together a winning coalition.
Yeah, no, but that's not his only policy.
It doesn't. Let's move away from Biden and move away from big scale politics. Let's talk about local town elections.
Oh, that's
because this is the real.
Yeah,
I agree 100%. But if you allow 4-year-olds to vote and they all say, "I want to abolish nap time,"
oh my
nap
God,
time is illegal.
Aydin.
That's true. You're going to have lots of local politicians pandering the children at them.
And a lot of adults, let's be real, won't care. A lot of adults will not care. They won't even, they'll go just down ballot, cross something off. Right. Whereas the issue that really matters to 4-year-olds is that nap time is oppressive. This is all completely an absurdist argument.
They're also going to be, they're going to be super woke, right? They're going to be super woke to appeal to the kids.
As I originally said, people who want to limit voting rights to specific demographics are the clearest example of authoritarianism we have.
So basically everyone in the country, except for you.
I want to see your guys' political compass, Justice. I have a feeling you guys are way high up there.
You think if you were to ask, I'm pretty sure if you were to ask everyone in the country, 99% would say no, there should be a voting age in the country.
Aydin, let me, since you understand social psychology and polling and stuff like that, one of the reasons why I talk about this stuff is because it illustrates the idea of selectorate theory, where people basically, politicians are out to cobble together a winning coalition by catering to certain constituencies. And also people who don't have the vote, society tends to churn along and do things at their expense. So one of the reasons this is where I think actually younger voting might come in handy. One of the reasons why I think public schooling is such a mess is because the people who actually utilize those institutions don't have any voting power, where the people who are utilizing those institutions like teachers unions and other people for their own political gain, they're the ones that are running the show on those institutions.
Are you aware of adolescent empathy rates?
Adolescent empathy rates? No.
So basically what happens
first I'm hearing of it.
Okay. So basically what happens is that between, interact with a 4-year-old. They will be the sweetest kid. Not all of them, but they'll be sweet. They want to care for animals and pets, and they be nice and try to sometimes, not always. Empathy works in a very interesting way in how it develops in people. It goes up and up and up and up and up, and then around age 8, it plummets up until about age 14.
I love
it absolutely falls to the bottom. Me. Yes, right before and then right after puberty, kids become incredibly self-centered to the point of if they were not children, it would be considered pathological in an adult.
Wow.
Okay. These are crazy levels of lack of empathy.
8 to 14.
Around that, it depends. There's some like theories that come from the Piaget sort of side of things that I don't necessarily buy, but the reality is that there is this period of time where young adults basically are psychopaths. And if you ever interacted with a 12-year-old girl, because she will point out what you don't like about you so fast. And that's why they're great at it. Why teenage and young teenage girls are so good at being bullies is because they just do not feel empathy in the same way that adults do. Now it comes back, but that is a reality of developmental psychology. And again, it doesn't describe every single person, but it describes an average. So that alone would be, regardless of the fact that we know for sure that the brain does not stop developing until about age 25, that this particular group, and here's the really important thing that I wanted to emphasize earlier, we are not permanently restricting voting rights from these people. This is a temporary restriction, much as like if someone is trying to become an American citizen, we do not allow them to vote before they become a citizen. We are basically, this is a waiting period of where you are in line for citizenship, but you have to go through a couple of these hoops, in this case, a waiting period where your brain develops a little more until we grant you citizenship. Full citizenship. You're already a citizen, but full citizenship and the right to vote.
Are you saying psychopaths shouldn't be allowed to vote? Is that what you're...
If they've committed felony crimes, they're not allowed to.
Well, I don't think felons should vote, obviously, but I'm sure there are plenty of psychopaths that are voting. I mean, many are voting in Congress right now.
Do you think if a felon goes to prison, serves their time, they should be able to vote when they get out?
If they've served their time, yeah, sure.
Okay.
I actually agree with that as well.
Yeah.
The reason why we shouldn't prevent people who are maybe psychopaths is if they haven't committed a crime. And again, this is, I would say it's only much like a waiting period from when you apply to become a citizen. Because essentially what you're doing by growing up is having most of the rights of a citizen, but you're applying for full citizenship. So it will be granted eventually, without crazy circumstances.
So you want to have a bunch of psychopaths who don't understand the world voting, Adam. Now you might say that's not very different from what we experience right now.
Exactly.
Adam's law. Anyway,
that's what's happening with having these young children vote.
John Smith wants to come on and argue with us a little bit, so let's move on to
Isn't he going to argue about voting age?
Yeah, I mean, you guys really aren't touching on. I mean, there's a cost-benefit analysis that you have to take here. There are certain institutions that are basically structured around younger than 18 people. If those people don't have a say in those institutions evolve to serve other people, just like the institution of slavery evolved to serve the people who own the slaves and not the people who were the slaves. So until you poll those people on how those institutions are functioning and give them authority over new leadership
but that's the opposite of what we want for children. We don't think children are capable of taking care of themselves or understanding what's best for themselves. That's the entire point of having parents.
Well, first of all, I would argue that we've gone in the opposite direction where we're infantilizing people. I mean, there are people who are 30 now who are not fully functional adults.
That's a different
issue. We could go further down that path. I mean, we could make it so that if you want to have, if you like, you have to pass a test.
Listen to this.
A basic civics test.
We started this conversation talking about Jim Crow. And Aydin is already wants to do IQ tests in order for you to vote.
That's not what I said.
Maturity test.
I said if we're moving into that direction.
We're not. Right. We don't. That direction is the planned economy.
Hold on a second.
Direction, Aydin. Okay, that's the communist direction.
You didn't answer my question. Okay, we have this idea based off evolution, your favorite thing, that children can't go into the world and take care of themselves, and that children don't know what's best for themselves, and that's why you have parents who are supposed to teach their children and instill these values about how to exist in the world. And that's why we don't trust children with certain things like voting.
I don't believe any of that. You're setting up a world that
I don't believe any of that.
I don't sign off on. I think
so. You don't. So why do
kids are socialized by their peers, not by their parents? I don't believe in that.
The scientific evidence is absolutely the parents have a incredibly major impact on the psychological development of children.
What evidence are you citing?
I mean, I'd have to.
It's not just.
I'm not a developmental psychologist.
It's not just. It's not just the development. It's also the caretaking, because kids don't know how to take care of themselves. They don't know what's best for themselves.
A stable environment, though, is not socializing them. It's giving them the platform to socialize themselves with their peers, with their prominent peers.
That doesn't,
but Aydin, I'm surprised that you're pushing back on that, because it seems like
you're saying that, like blacks, before they could vote, that they need to have a platform to be able to control their lives via voting process. And I'm saying that kids shouldn't have that because kids don't know what's best for themselves. And we as a society recognize that. This is a constant complaint we have with the woke side, saying they're acting like the screaming child and we just keep placating them. And that's why it's weird that you want to sort of limit the lower the voting age to be nothing, because it's the same principle.
The reason I disagree with it is because I don't think children have the cognitive capacity, and that is based on my limited understanding.
No, I'm not
developmental
that
psychology.
Aydin. Not that Aydin. We're miscommunicating here. The idea that kids are socialized by their peer groups, their peer groups have a bigger influence on socializing them than their parents, I think is in the social psychology pretty strongly.
Peer groups have it depends on the age.
Well,
so like in 4-year-olds, the parents have a bigger impact on the
obviously they don't. A 4-year-old doesn't even have a peer group.
But
I'm talking about like 16.
Yeah, but Adam,
that wasn't clear. Sorry.
14.
That's a tangent.
14 to 18.
That's a tangent to my
point.
Okay.
Sure. Social psychology in terms of the social friend group is going to be more important to a 16-year-old.
So but we agree.
In terms of that, potentially is well.
Wait? This is all like a sidetrack. My point was, Adam,
mixed up in terms of what to address here.
Do you believe that children know what's best for themselves? That the average child knows what's best for themselves.
It depends upon the situation, Sitch. Obviously, okay.
On the average child,
there
are kids that are in situations where give
me the average here. Okay, that's what I'm asking.
The average is not important here.
It is.
Yes, it is. Average is the most important thing to determining what law should be based on the average.
Let me finish for a second.
Go ahead.
Okay?
Sorry.
If a kid has a single mom with a boyfriend that's beating the shit out of them, does that kid know that they're in a bad situation?
Of course.
Probably so.
Of course.
Right. If a kid is in a school system that fucking sucks, do you think the kid knows that? Or do you think they're too dumb to know that?
It has nothing to do with dumb. It also has to do with children have warped perceptions.
Should we take away people's ability to own guns because some people commit crimes with those guns, Adam? Or does the average person not committing crimes with a gun matter?
Well, it's a completely different situation.
It's not. I'm saying we have to create legislation based on the average actions of people and not around specific edge cases. And so what I'm asking you is that on average, our society believes, and I agree with, that children on average in most situations don't know what's best for themselves.
Okay.
And that's why they shouldn't vote, and that's why they shouldn't be treated the same way an adult should be treated.
And the reality is that most adults don't know what's best for themselves. So let's be fair.
They have the capacity to.
They have, yes, they have. Their brains are fully formed.
I disagree. I think most adults don't know what's best for themselves.
No, I agree with that.
I agree with that as well.
I agree, but there's two things.
Are we going to disenfranchising people based on whether or not they don't know what's best for them?
No. There's two things here. One, adults have the capacity.
What is the purpose?
Hold on. Adults, at least A, have the capacity to know what's best for themselves, and B, whenever you have any sort of system like this, there's always going to have to be a somewhat arbitrary cutoff. And so we're choosing age to represent this.
What is the purpose of the cutoff?
It is to create a social distinction between when you're responsible for your actions and when you're not really responsible.
What is the purpose of voting?
The purpose of voting is to have a control over your legislation, or as you say, your poll.
It's to make your voice manifest. But I
have a say in the policies that govern your life.
Yes,
sure.
Right. So you're saying certain people shouldn't have a say in the policies that govern their life because of they're too inexperienced to know whether or not those policies are.
It's not just a question. It's a question of inexperience. A question of not having the actual physical brain development.
Do you think we have policies now that are bad for kids?
Probably.
Yeah. Let me ask this question, because I don't know the answer to this either. Should people who are, and I'm using a clinical term, mentally retarded, be allowed to vote, be allowed to drink, be allowed to drive, be allowed to have sex? Because I believe they should.
Yeah, me too.
But I think the difference with the children thing is a potentiality argument, which I usually really hate. So I hate that I have to use it.
Causality, man. Here he comes.
I don't like this.
Oh, consequentialist, man. That's it.
No, it's not consequentialism. It's potentiality, in that under any normal circumstance, you would expect a child to grow up to be a normal functioning adult with some manner of an understanding of the implications of their actions. And that's why it's like, well, if we just wait for this admittedly arbitrary amount of time, because yes, there will be some children who develop mentally more expediently than others, but this is an sort of average level that we've determined is about the time at which they are able to make some decisions for themselves. And it is arbitrary to a degree. It is arbitrary because there will be some people that develop slower. There will be some people that develop faster. But we are expecting them to reach that point, and that's why we've set it in place. It is a process-based thing. If someone who is born mentally disabled, I guess it's not going to change. And any development they are going to have would happen mentally between the ages of 1 and 25, and it would end around 25.
Most of our conflict comes from the fact that I'm just conceptualizing voting way differently than most people conceptualize voting. I'm conceptualizing voting as the wisdom of crowds, where if you have more people, more input, more data, you're going to get better results. You're going to get more feedback on how those institutions are functioning. If you have an institution that's completely busted and only 3 people in that institution have voting rights, and the predominant number of people in that institution don't have any political say whatsoever, you're not going to get any feedback on whether or not that institution needs to change. Now, you're conceptualizing voting as something smart people do to decide how we should face the future, what policies we should embrace to face the future. And there is a bit of that. But voting predominantly is based on whether or not the policies of the past, the recent past, were effective or not. Like, obviously, they kicked Trump out of office because the mandate was he was ineffective. His governing style was too caustic for the nation, okay? Setting aside the shenanigans that took place during the election in the middle of the pandemic and whatnot. Generally, this is the way elections go. There were a referendum on the recent past. And I think one of the reasons why our schools are so fucked up is because young people don't vote. And I think if we socialize them to vote at an earlier age, voting might stick. They might vote more often. They might realize that the political power really is with voting. Like, predominantly people don't vote now.
No, they don't. And I mean, I don't know how many children you would get to vote, but I think the problem with the schools has to do with teachers' unions in large part.
Because they have the political power. You're making my argument, Aydin.
No,
like,
but
why?
Let me address your argument.
If half the student body could vote in the next election, you might break the back of the fucking teachers' union in the first election.
And yet, have you ever experienced high school level politics in terms of class president kind of stuff? Yes. Who gets voted in? What gets voted in?
Yes,
it's pure popularity. It is
pure. What is president?
Homework.
It's a popularity contest. It doesn't change. It doesn't change when you put your big boy pants on.
To a degree, no, it doesn't. But in the case of children, they don't vote for stuff that's in their best interest. What are they going to vote for? Again, it's no homework, longer recess.
Ooh, this is such a ridiculous argument. It's so absurdist. Who is going to put on the ballot no homework? That's ridiculous.
Let's wait. Hold on. Let me address.
You live in a world where politicians are going to start pandering in gummy bears. They're going to, as soon as the gummy bear party is announced, the adults are going to go, "You're fucking nuts. What the fuck? Get out of here."
First of all, the fact
losing their ability to vote. We're not transferring the voting ability from the adults to the children. Okay?
I know.
Two things.
I understand.
The fact that I would agree with you. As soon as the gummy bear party comes out, adults will not take it seriously. But the fact that could even be conceptualized and would potentially work on children should be evidence for why they shouldn't vote, number one. Number two, in terms of what you're saying about polling children about the institutes that they partake in, I don't agree with this because, for example, you can have a 10-year-old child who's going to a top school in the country where they have all the resources that school could ever need, and they have to do lots of homework, and they're getting a really good education, but it's a lot of hard work, and the teachers are very strict. And the kid could really dislike the school and say, this is terrible. And then meanwhile, you have a kid, a couple miles away who's also 10 going to a really terrible F-rated school that has no money. And all he does every day in class is dick around with his friends and play on his phones because there's so many disciplinary problems that the teachers can't actually teach the class.
Right.
But that kid's going to say, oh, I love my school. And the kid who's working really hard in the great school is going to say, I hate my school.
Maybe.
You don't know first of all, in the failing schools that have the disciplinary problems, I would argue that the voting majority doesn't want those disciplinary problems in their school and would quickly vote to get those people fucking expelled, incarcerated, out of their fucking hair. So
I don't know.
We're not asking them to vote, though. We're not asking them.
Wait a minute. Why doesn't that happen already? Then that's not happening now.
Because they don't have any political power.
The parents have the power.
But the parents are outnumbered. The parents are outnumbered
by who?
Their votes they don't have a majority of votes.
At this day and age. If it was really an issue, where there was an abusive piece of shit teacher, not only could the parents do something, the kids do have agency. They can go to.
It's not the teacher; it is the fellow students who are the caustic people in the environment. Fellow students. I'm not making an argument that teachers are pieces of shit. I'm making an argument that fellow students are pieces of shit.
Why do these terrible kids who cause all these disciplinary problems why are they still in the school? It's because they come from really bad home situations where their parents don't give a fuck what they're doing, so they're not disciplining them whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And because of voters and because of wokeism, they keep taking away schools' ability to discipline children, either through expulsion or whatever process they would need, because they say it's racist. And I don't see how giving kids the ability to vote would change any of that.
Because they're the ones that actually frequent the institution. Okay,
but the kid doesn't care.
Hold on. Here's an example, okay? You're in a failing school. You can't change schools because school choice is not fucking passing. No one's voting for it because nobody fucking cares.
Sure.
They don't have kids, okay?
Right.
If kids had the ability to vote in mass for school choice so they could get away from that fucking bully that's disrupting the class in the failing school, they might vote for that. They might vote for that and then change schools.
They won't.
I also think you've
Because,
why
let me
won't
just okay.
Why won't
because
they vote for
I'm
that?
a 10-year-old and I'm sitting in class and I never have to actually do any work because there's always the 2 to 3 kids that are always shit talking the teacher or are fighting with each other that the teacher has to concentrate. So that means that I get to spend all day dicking around with my friends and talking on my phone. And you say, okay, 10-year-old Sitch, do you want that, or do you want to have to actually do homework in class?
You're deciding on fiat by fiat, your gut, whatever you want to say. You're deciding that situation is going to be the majority of people, and they're going to vote that way. Maybe you're right, but until they actually vote, we don't know.
But that's why we don't trust children with dictating rules about themselves and their behavior.
Let me put it.
Sitch, there is a cost to not getting that information. Do you realize that?
If you wanted to take a poll asking all these children about this, that would be a very interesting thing to do. Okay.
I mean, I'm not familiar with it, but yeah, I would guarantee. I wouldn't guarantee because I can't make that kind of statement. But I'm sure that if you asked a bunch of 12 or 13-year-olds if they thought they should be in charge of their life more and have the ability to make decisions, of course they would.
Definitely.
But let me come in with.
Yes, come in, please. Say it.
Okay, so you want to give kids the right to run their schools, essentially, or at least have more say in it, to, for example, avoid children from getting bullied. Who gets bullied? Is it the popular kid who has a big...
That's not what I'm saying. That's not remotely my argument.
Well, hang on, because this would be a real outcome of what you're proposing. If children are allowed to make these decisions within their school to decide, let's say, we don't want this person to even be at the school anymore, or we want this person to wear a dunce cap every day. I will tell you
that the ridiculous here.
No, that's not ridiculous.
You're getting ridiculous.
Have you ever been around middle school age girls? That's what they would do. They would they act in groups.
So you
they have they have very heavy group mentality culture, and they tend to be the majority, not in terms of maybe of opinion.
All of this
they go along with one another.
All of this is completely guesstimation.
So you
have you not read Lord of the Flies?
Absolutely no idea.
It's Lord of the
not
Flies.
Read Lord of the Flies.
I think you would get. I think you would create a actual mini kingdoms of prepubescent girls who want to torture one another.
How close are we to actually raising the voting age?
Adam, think about poor Piggy. Okay, Piggy got murdered. Think about he got get murdered by a rock. Okay, do you not think about this? Do you not think about this?
I think about Piggy every day.
Just if you just want to know the most vicious people on earth, go find a 13-year-old girl, and they typically act in groups. So you would be giving the control, the majority control, over to a group of people that is spiteful, malicious, and doesn't feel empathy.
You're just. This is. I mean, you don't know. You don't have any. You don't have any. This is non-evidence based.
No, I brought up the evidence earlier about the dip in empathy.
What's that?
The adolescent dip in empathy.
Yeah.
So that happens, and you want those people to be able to politically, essentially, or socially control those around them when you know they don't feel empathy to the way that adults do.
Aydin, okay, if you want to make the empathy argument, I'm happy to go. We start voting at age 14. If you really want to stick to the 8 to 14,
but not everyone
psychopaths.
Develops at the same rate. At 18 is an arbitrary age.
That's why we should go to lower, because some people are ready to vote.
I think it should be 21, to be completely honest.
Bam!
Oh my God,
Slam it down.
You know why? if you raise the voting age to 21, we'll be in another Vietnam in no time at all. There'll be a new draft. They'll be drafting all these 18-year-old kids to go over and fight somebody.
That's not true.
Wait, I would disagree with that. One thing I think with the draft is that if you're not allowed to vote, you shouldn't be able to be drafted.
I had no idea you were such an authoritarian, Aydin. I
thought
thought
you were 18.
I thought you were.
No, I don't.
I thought you guys were libertarians. I can't believe you. Listen to this. If we have anyone below the age of 21. Sitch and Aydin here would like to dictate your life for you.
No.
They do not think.
Look at this straw man.
They do not think that you can make cogent decisions in your own life. You don't know what's best for you.
A team is straw team.
A team supreme is what's going on right here. This is a reality check for you guys. A couple of authoritarians just blew into my stream.
A team believes so much in freedom that children should just be free to do whatever the fuck they want. They should have full autonomy over their lives. 100%. Why did you
bring up voting age stuff? First of all, what's gonna
I didn't bring it up. The super chatter did. John Smith brought it up. He wants to argue with you about it.
One last thing about it.
Why are you guys?
You can be an emancipated teen. If a court decides that if you're 12 years old and you have been decided by a panel of psychologists or whoever, usually like a counselor, who decides this stuff, that you're able to make independent decisions and you're super far ahead of the curve and you're an emancipated teen, then yes, you should be able to vote. How about that?
Sure, I'll give you that one.
Authoritarians here.
I want to talk about this tweet though, because I just looked up at the screen and this tweet is kind of triggering me.
Well, this is what I want to talk about for 2 hours. We've talked an hour and a half about. I don't understand why you guys are obsessed with this.
I know.
Like it's like.
What do you mean? You're the one that keeps arguing it.
No, because people keep arguing it with me because they want me to change my mind. Guess what? I'm not going to change my mind. First of all, I would love the information that all of you guys seem to think you already have just by pulling it out of your gut. I'd like to know the truth. I don't think you can know the truth without evidence and science and stuff like that.
Wonderful, yeah.
The authoritarian central planners here, they think they can plan out your entire life for you.
You're like, let's move on. But before we move on, let me call you fascist.
let me get a couple of insults in here before we move on. All right, we're officially changing topics. If you guys want to hit me a couple times, go ahead. Go for it. Hit me.
No, I officially hate this topic now.
I do. You're just stupid and wrong.
Okay, good. Let's move on. The tweet that spawned this was I tweeted out, feminist activists are writing all of our action movies and Hollywood can't figure out why they all suck. Which immediately
There you go.
It got some pretty big buy-in. So, but then this is a common debate in Comicsgate that I find fascinating because I do like my share of political videos. The Contender is one of my favorite movies, and that's a highly political video. So, but somebody responded here and said, yeah, the best movies are famously apolitical. And I was thinking about this, and I was trying to kind of suss out, what are really the rules here? Because I don't like the obvious, woke movies that hit you over the head with nonsense woke talking points.
I know what the rules are. I can tell you. Okay.
I think I know too. Let's go.
Yeah.
So
Sitch,
let's use Fight Club. Fight Club's a perfect example. Okay. I was thinking about this the other day when I was listening to that crazy lady's review of Fight Club that we'll probably do a stream on.
Mm-hmm. And oh my God, you went and looked it up. Good.
Oh my God, it's so bad. But I realized that Fight Club is actually the enlightened centrist movie. Okay?
Really?
Oh, well, yes, because Fight Club is posing a problem. It's saying materialism and you can even say over feminization of masculinity is creating a class of men who are sort of have no meaning in their lives. They're creating a bunch of Jordan Peterson no meaning lobsters. Okay.
Right. Totally.
So then, an effort to find meaning, they go to the opposite end of the spectrum and they go to the super ultra violence, and then they decide to tear everything down. And so that's why it's the ultimate centrist movie, because this is the difference. A normal political movie would say, okay, there's a problem on our society. Here's the solution. It's whatever the opposite end of the political spectrum is. Where Fight Club says, doesn't really give you an answer. It just says, well, there's a problem here, and if you go too far in the other direction, it creates another problem.
Oh, wow, that's a great analysis.
And I think that's true with a lot of these movies. Maybe not Starship Troopers, but with Star Wars and Aliens, and in Fight Club, they're not promoting a single liberal or conservative political worldview. They're promoting sort of a mix of a bunch of different political worldviews, and that's why people don't see them as inherently political movies the way they see like the feminist shit, which is a very clear political narrative. That's one-sided.
Okay. Do you want to chime in?
I mostly agree with that. When I think of, and I think when we think in general about the best films, the best books, the best stories, follow Joseph Campbell's Hero's Myth, right? The hero was 1,000 faces, which is, it follows a very strict sort of process of entry, leaving comfort and safety and then going into the unknown and then returning back again. But the thing about that very specific cycle is that it can be applied to anything. And the result of that is that, like you said, it's that anyone can apply their own politics to these kinds of stories that follow this very simple hero's myth, hero's journey. It's why we find this exact same cycle, this exact same structure in pretty much every culture that has created literature, that has created stories, even spoken word ones that Campbell studied. These African tribes that have no written language tell stories that are in the same structure as any European story or any Asian story.
Right.
So I think it's about, first of all, that cyclical sort of hero's journey. That's a first big part. And the second one, is that it should be sort of apolitical, only into the fact that you can inject your own politics into it. That doesn't have it can seem to have a political bent, but if it doesn't hit that basic humanistic stuff, things that really get to the core of what it means to be a person, then it'll miss the mark.
I have a comment to make on like the willing suspension of disbelief, because when I was thinking about this, I was thinking in terms of different political tribes have different narratives that they accept as kind of axiomatic. Mm-hmm. And for me, movies are all about building the willing suspension of disbelief along the way. Like we'll go on, Ripley is, she's a trucker in space, basically, right? The corporation wants this alien that they can turn into a bioweapon. Okay. All that stuff is encapsulated in the story. But I think where the woke movies kind of jump the shark is where they pull out this axiom that's kind of not really accepted in the movie verse because they never set it up, but in the real world, it's like accepted, like men are toxic, right? I think that was kind of a theme that was just laid down in the Star Wars sequels, where obviously there's a conflict between the low-ranking male and the higher-ranking female general. And this is like axiomatic for the wokesters. Like they accept that as part of the real world. It's not actually breaking the fourth wall at all. But for people who don't accept that as axiomatic, it does break the fourth wall. It's like
that's narrative transportation.
Yeah. Right. So they check out because they don't have the willing suspension of disbelief on that axiom. It's like kind of dragging your religious belief into a movie and just saying, yeah, well, we all believe this, right? Obviously men are toxic and will break the chain of command because they're men. That's what they do. When really all of our military institutions are designed to prevent that. So
yeah, I mean, I agree completely in that. I mean, that was the problem with Star Wars. The previous Star Wars, to my knowledge, they didn't really show a world or a universe, I guess, that was sexist or racist. So to start to shove that in later sequels is very sticks out like a sore thumb. It's very off-putting. But even beyond that, like this person has a picture of, I think that's Return of the Jedi because it's got the reconstructed Death Star in it. Like, what is the politics of Return of the Jedi? That fascism is bad? Like, who's against that?
Yeah, who disagrees?
And that's part of what's stupid about these takes is that a lot of movies that they say, oh, every movie's political. It's like, I mean, I guess technically that's true, but they're political in a way that no one really disagrees with. No one in America is pro-fascism, or most people aren't pro-fascism. No one's taking the Empire's side, except for Sargon in Return of the Jedi. So it to me, if your political take is something everyone agrees with, then it might as well be considered apolitical.
Oh yeah, so that kind of gets into what I'm saying about it's an axiom. Like we all accept as an axiom, fascism is bad. Okay, so you don't have to set that up in the movie. You don't have to have a scene where you realize, oh my God, fascism is bad.
Yeah,
like that's a take that they're setting up in this movie. But when you start bringing in axioms that are like your political axioms that aren't agreed upon axioms, then you do need to set them up in the movie, and they just generally aren't setting those up in the movie. Sure. I think we would be willing to accept that in some universe there is toxic masculinity, maybe like the Klingon universe or something.
Sure.
So we would accept that they're having a female in charge may cause conflict in that kind of universe, but that needs to be set up. It's not like an axiom of our universe.
Right, and I think you're correct on that. Is that these movies are popular because they are sort of open. Either you could put your own politics that you want into them, but they do have these sort of basic moralistic stories. Yes, fascism bad, and that therefore they can be kind of expanded. And what we've seen now with the sort of like woke media stuff is not allowing for interpretation, because people could certainly have a million different interpretations. I'm sure you could make a non-fascist interpretation for Starship Troopers, for example, if you had no knowledge of the background whatsoever. However, I think the problem is that a lot of these like kind of woke films come into it with a intention to educate the audience, and that inherently prevents narrative transportation. Narrative transportation is feeling as if you are transported to the world of the story, or it's a comic book or a play or a film. It doesn't matter. Feeling as if you have been transported to that world. And when you bring real world politics and real world bullshit into a film, it's going to prevent narrative transportation and inherently take people out of it. So I think when you totally fantasize it, or when it's so generalized, those are the movies that work the best.
Yeah, we have to accept the world on some level, and that's what takes me out of the movie, is when all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God. Like it takes me out of the movie because it thrusts me back into our world. I feel like, oh, I'm being propagandized now instead of actually like being immersed in some other experience.
Well, and not just that, but also with a lot of the woke movies, it feels like the movie exists to promote the woke politics, where in other movies it feels like the politics are a natural outgrowth of whatever the story is.
True. Yeah, the story comes before the politics in movies like Fight Club.
Like Aliens 2 is a perfect example, with there's themes about, feminism, with Ripley being a strong, independent woman, and there's themes of anti-corporatism, but that kind of follows the natural progression of the first Alien movie. It's not like, oh, some wokey said we need more movies with strong women and corporations are bad, so I'm gonna shoehorn this into Aliens, even if it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't draw you out of the narrative of the film. Whereas, you know, like the Captain Marvel scene with at the gas station or whatever it was, where she punches the guy.
It's ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah, she becomes the bad guy. Explain that scene for people who might not have seen it.
Oh, I didn't watch Captain Marvel. I just watched reviews of it, but I've seen that scene. I've seen that precise scene, and thought
she basically comes out.
So
some guy like whistles at her, or catcalls her, or smiles at her.
He says like you should put a smile on her or something.
Yeah,
right.
smile, right.
So this this inspires her to like steal his motorcycle and like punch him out, which is just, I mean, it's the punishment doesn't fit the crime in any way, shape, or form, and I think intuitively we know that, and you're going, wait, this is supposed to be the hero.
You know, it's interesting because in the theatrical version she just steals his motorcycle. In the deleted scenes she actually like grabs his wrist and I think breaks his arm or something.
Yeah.
And they cut it because they realized it was too much. And it's interesting because you can compare that to Wonder Woman 1984, which I think is a terrible movie, but they did realize this idea because there's a scene early in the movie where this guy is not just catcalling, but he's trying to sexually assault Kristen Wiig's character, and Wonder Woman saves her. And then later in the movie, when Kristen Wiig starts to get superpowers, that she sees that guy again, and she basically almost beats him to death, but it's portrayed negatively. So even that movie understood that. Like,
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
You can't just have like this. I mean, Wonder Woman 1984 was bad, not for any political woke reasons. It's just a terrible movie. But even they understood that you can't do this.
But I think, stuff like that otherwise would take you out of being feeling like you're inside the narrative, feeling like you're inside the film. If suddenly it's like, here's this real life political stuff, when to some degree, the purpose of media is to experience a different reality, to get away from the real one.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's interesting because a lot of the woke stuff, I don't know if it's intentional. I guess maybe it is, because the woke stuff is kind of based around female empowerment or whatever, or even racial empowerment. They always throw away the hero's journey. And that was the big problem with Rey, is that she starts off being super powerful and she just stays super powerful. It's just all these woke movies are heroes or heroines realizing they're more powerful. They're not training and gaining their power. And maybe these movies would work better if, I don't know why they keep throwing away the standard hero's journey in these movies.
Some old white man named Joseph Campbell wrote about
totally.
it.
That's it right there.
There was some YouTube video of this guy saying that the hero's journey is like Western and ethnocentric imperialism or something.
Literally the antithesis.
I know.
Campbell found it in every culture he examined. So it might have been a white guy who wrote about it, but he was writing about clearly an extant phenomenon that was universal to human society. And I think, that's interesting that it's a denial of the hero's journey. And Rey is an excellent example of that. But I think that, and that's another indicator of politics infesting it, because if it was any other character besides a woman in a woke sort of film that was trying to portray that specific message, AKA if it was Luke Skywalker, we would expect the character to fumble and fail and fall. And it's a whole section in, the hero's journey, is that there's the fall. That does not happen to Rey, not really at any point. There's no fall, not in the total trilogy, nor in any real film specifically.
This is going to sound totally sexist, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm curious your take on it, Abe. So there's this argument that they make now, if you can't see it, you can't be it, which has some truth to it, because I'm sure you follow the work of Joseph Henrik. He talks about this, how we look for models as like avatars in our environment. Now I wonder, and here's the sexist part, if they leave that stuff out because girls and women and females in general are like, oh, that looks hard, I don't want to do that. So they want to make it look easier to kind of entice them, join STEM, become a scientist. We need you. So making these superheroes that just, they have it easy, they never train, they don't have the fall. They want to leave that hard stuff out because it discourages women.
Maybe.
That's the sexist part.
I mean, maybe that would be the idealized or the ideal group member versus the optimal distinctiveness sort of paradigm. And optimal group distinctiveness is wanting to be representative of your group, but also distinct. Whereas looking at the ideal member is representative member. And I think that you would say like, oh, if Ray is a representative member of femaleness, then yeah, stuff comes easy to her and it should come easy to you. I think that's actually a very negative and harmful message for young girls or any group to say it should come easy to you. Oh, it doesn't. And in fact, we can study this. For example, Asian people have an extremely high anxiety about standardized tests because they're expected to have higher grades, to do better on standardized tests. So when we've measured, so there's stereotype lift, and then there's stereotype threat. Stereotype threat is the thing we always hear the most about, which is that, I saw a rap video that said that Black people all are thugs and whatever, and so I feel like I need to live up to that negative stereotype. That's stereotype threat. And and therefore I won't do well on my math test. Where stereotype lift is this belief that you're supposed to do really good on a math test, and then if you can't live up to that stereotype, then you actually end up performing more poorly and like hating yourself for it. And this is endemic across in the Asian American community in particular. And I would imagine more in countries like Japan that I have less data on. But yeah, now you're setting up I would say a stereotype lift sort of phenomenon for young girls to say, oh, you shouldn't have to try. It should come to you naturally. Everything should come to you naturally. Oh, you're not good at STEM? What's wrong with you?
But the old thing that was this center of attention in a lot of movies, a lot of female driven movies, is the like, I want to be a princess phenomenon, right? It seems like women want to desire to be a princess. And if you break down the princess thing, it's kind of like power without any work going into achieving that power, right?
Right.
Like that's what a princess is, right? Born rich, lots of influence, and actually never no work for it.
Yeah, even I'm trying to think of like animated films that I liked as a kid, and one of my favorites is Anastasia, and that's sort of the opposite. It's that you're still born into something, right? You have to work for it to a degree, but it's to get to the status that's owed or deserved to you by virtue of your birth. Right. It's not a great message.
These are just two completely different dynamics. There are the people that desire to be, born high status, and then there are the people that desire to work to be high status. So you're catering to two completely different markets here.
I wonder if some of this too is not ideological, but is just standard stupid producer logic. Because
I think,
you look at a lot of the movies, because a lot of movies we're talking about, they're Disney movies. You have Ray, you have Captain Marvel, you have Mulan, and what do they all have in common? They're all about female protagonists who realize that they have some sort of power inside of them that they have to let it go. And I think what happened was that you have these stupid producers said, hey, Frozen was super popular. Girls fucking ate that shit up. Everyone loved that Let It Go song, which is all about releasing your inner strength. Okay.
I really love that movie.
Exactly. And so stupid producer logic says, hey, we should therefore make a bunch of movies centering female heroes that all have to let it go and people will eat this shit up. And so they just sort of try to make every female hero Elsa, and it doesn't work. Because Elsa wasn't about her character's journey of becoming, more powerful like Mulan or Captain Marvel or Ray has to be.
Yeah, hers actually, interestingly, Elsa's thing is about emotional control, which I think in any other circumstance, if you suggested that to a woman, they'd get quite upset.
Totally.
It's almost like they interpret it the opposite, because they're saying let it go is letting your emotions go. It's not emotional control.
But she had to have her little bits of self-expression in order to be able to ultimately control her emotions. So, but I think you're right that Frozen, I had never thought about that. That's horrifying. Sort of started off this mainstream. I don't think obviously I don't think Frozen alone is the culprit. I think it's a wider, broader cultural issue of this idea that like just be yourself, and by the way, not a bad message. But
that's
the idea that
message.
Well, hang on. The fact that being yourself, it can be and can't be, but the fact that being yourself is better than trying, is better than working.
Right.
Just being yourself is better than effort.
No, that's a terrible message.
that is a terrible message.
I understand. There's a nested truth in be yourself, which is that if you're too worried and anxious about doing something, you're going to be worse at it than if you're just calm. That's like the real message of be yourself.
Yeah.
But the problem is it's not interpreted that way. When in reality, you want to be better than yourself. You should be striving to be being the best you can be. You know.
That's a filthy libertarian kind of argument.
There you go.
Are adults teaching children this, that they should be themselves? I'm curious.
Oh my gosh!
Sounds like terrible advice to me.
Ask Fight Club, Adam.
I wonder.
Well, no, I mean,
know that it's incorrect.
My mom's a preschool teacher. That is 100% what they teach children.
Oh, God.
Is anything that you do, anything you think is all okay. I mean, until they get to the age where they can use social media, then if you have a wrong thought, you're canceled and over.
Oh my God.
But anything is good because it's you and you're so special. So be yourself in every way, even if it's. I mean, if the kids bully each other, obviously, that's. You got to step in at some level there. But outside of that, if you're just being socially aberrant, I don't think they would step in. They just say like, it's just them being unique.
No, I saw Utter Nonsense's super chat. It's so stupid and funny. Is
this wrong? I don't know. Can I do much damage putting the super chats up on the screen? I just was like, why? I have my super chat reader here, and there's like a million of them. I don't know. I might slow things down.
The Utter Nonsense for 499 says the empire is actually centrist because it has an emperor that is also the entire Senate. Sargon is 100% right. Long live the empire and back the 501st. There you go. I love it.
Oh my goodness.
That's flawless logic, to be fair.
Flawless, yes.
We have a bunch of super chats to read, Aydin. If you want to stick around, you can. There's probably some in here making fun of me for us talking about voting.
No, sure thing. It's not even 10 o'clock here yet, so
that's right. We're not. This is a short stream for us. We're not going to one.
Yeah. Adamith for $4.99 says, "Is a grilled cheese a breakfast item?" A grilled cheese. If there's an egg on it, it is. Obviously.
I pointed out earlier because Chris Reagan tweeted pickle pizza in horror. Hang on, it's good.
No.
So pickle on pizza is a Cincinnati item, but since another Cincinnati item is grilled cheese donuts. So
that sounds interesting.
It is quite good, actually.
See, okay. You tell me grilled cheese. You tell me grilled cheese donut. I'm like, okay, I've never had that, but I could understand why that would be good. Pickles on pizza? No, that's
fantastic.
Wrong. You are wrong. You are wrong, and you are a blasphemer.
Cincinnatians also put chocolate and cinnamon in their chili,
and
then put it on spaghetti.
Cinnamon and chili? Oh.
Cinnamon and chocolate in chili and serve it over spaghetti with raw onions and about a pound of shredded cheddar cheese.
Have you ever read Invitation to a Beheading?
No.
Because the main character's name is Cincinnatus, and I'm just like, no wonder all these terrible things.
Was the founder? Was the founder? I guess supposedly.
Yeah, there you go.
The mythical founder of Cincinnati, not in real life. Now.
Do you guys know what this super chat means?
Jamie Russell for 225 says slightly smaller Fisquitas.
That was that other guy's name, Fistaquitas.
Fistaquitas.
I don't know what. Are we all saying something that none of us recognize?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe. I feel like we're saying something terrible that's going to get canceled. I know. I just Googled it and nothing came up, so I don't know what's happening here.
Metroid Man for $3 389 Metroman 389 for $5 says, hey, Sitch and Adam, long time viewer, finally stepping in to say 18 makes the ladies cream, baby. Woo! Bought the S-Class comic though, sorry. Well, the S-Class cover is phenomenal, so of course you should buy the S-Class cover. Cullivar for $5 says, hey, Aydin, you probably don't remember me, but I was a co-host on Lo-Fi, and the guy that used to have a cricket as avatar, you were on. So
Tycho Inkwait.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tycho Inkwait, I think.
Oh, wow. You actually remember his name.
Impressed. Why? I don't. He's always been nice to me, so.
Yeah, he's nice to us too. The Ed Boy for $5.
The Ed Boy. You have to say it right.
The Ed Boy.
Ed Boy.
That's good. That's good.
For $5 says Aydin is 100% right. Well, not about the children voting thing, but I got rock hard when oh my god. I got rock hard when my first speed belt dropped. What?
I don't.
He's talking about getting aroused when you're doing something.
She'll get it.
Dangerous or
Volt.
violent.
Yeah.
Altana Volt. Close enough. Much like Azarahi.
Azora. I can't even say it wrong. I don't even know how you're saying
it. Snub Birth 13 for $20. Thank you so much. That's very generous of you. I was a product of the Columbine paranoia. My mother listened to the rushes of radio, and I wasn't allowed to play Silent Hill 1. What? Till Silent Hill 3 was in production. It took me that long to convince her it was garbage. I feel so bad for you. I do feel so bad for you. That Columbine stuff did shake a lot of people up, and that was when a lot of the moral majority still had some power left.
Yeah, that was my mom completely. She had no rhyme or reason on the things that she wouldn't let me watch or touch in terms of games or shows. It was just like, you can't watch Dragon Ball because it's violent, but you can absolutely watch like these incredibly violent films as long as I watch them with you. It made no sense.
That was my mom too. It was like, you can't. She didn't want me to play first-person shooters. She didn't want me to own like Nerf guns, but I could watch Dragon Ball Z and play like other violent video games. It is very arbitrary.
Yeah.
John Smith for $1.09 says, Adam, what the fuck? You said I could come on. What? John, how do I send you a link? I checked my Twitter DMs and how am I supposed to send you a link? John, reach out to me. Uber Cross for $5 says, let me take this down. Uber Cross for $5 says, Adam, I think sometimes on MMT it is hard to discuss via comments. It's very easy to misunderstand the point each of us is making without more words. I completely agree. Yeah. So I love arguing this stuff, and I'm happy to have people on to argue it with me. Obviously, I didn't think this like lowering the voting age thing would pick up steam to the point where, I didn't know the Democratic Party was watching my stream so religiously, and now they're actually trying to make it so 16-year-olds can vote.
John
said, to be fair, I've heard a lot of words about MMT and I still don't understand it. So
John says he'll DM you on Discord.
On Discord? What's that?
Yeah. And the Ed Boy for $2 says, I was referring to a rare item in Final Fantasy 11. Shame, Aydin. Shame.
Oh, shoot.
Oh.
I would never have. Look, the amount of times I get references about which my name and everything about my channel is a reference to is Final Fantasy 11. I would never. I still don't think about it because the game is so weird.
I've never played Final
That's
Fantasy
really
11.
awesome, though. It's pain.
Really?
Incarnate.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Sounds like a bad thing.
Probably the most brutal MMO ever made. Not anymore, but when it came out, yeah, it was the most brutal MMO. People literally died playing that game.
Oh my god!
Chaos Warden. Yep.
LBGTQIA reigns.
There you go.
Hilarious.
I was so. I think
Pandemonium.
I was so off put by Final Fantasy X too that I just never played Final Fantasy games after that. It broke the series for me.
I mean, 10-2 was a fantastic game, so you just don't have good taste.
Oh my god, let's take our strong independent woman character and make her like an anime girl thief who's like, yeah, I'm going to find my dead boyfriend.
Well, hang on. The story is terrible. The gameplay is very nice.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
the gameplay that revolves around dress up. Yes,
that revolves around you cosplaying. It's fantastic.
Yep, that's true.
Nigel Savoy for $5 says, will the voting IDs have political affiliations with them? Maybe little rainbows or stars of David on them. What? Any concern about abuse such as this?
Wait, you're not in favor of having political affiliation on your voter ID, right?
No, of course not. Yeah.
No, that'd be terrible. Oh my gosh. That'd be awful.
It has a big IQ. It's like 80.
Right. There shouldn't be a voter specific ID. There should just be ID.
Right. Just to show that you are who you say you are.
Yes.
And so that when we tally things up, we know this person only voted once.
Right. And it should be like Papers, Please. When you show up and it's wrong, then you get like detained and get sent to the gulag.
No, wait.
All
right, I have established contact with John Smith, and he's very...
Well, do you want to finish the super chats?
He's very eager to get on.
So you want to finish the super chats first, though?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course, yeah. Okay. Of course.
Lord of the Nerds for $2 says, Adam trying hard to get a modern Hitler Youth. True.
Oh my God, Lord of the Nerds. Why have you forsaken me?
There you go.
Well, I mean, you know.
If the
politically activated young.
No.
If the mustache fits.
Young.
Okay.
No, Aydin, that's not what I'm doing, okay? Adamith for $4.99 says, we could elect someone who can get us into terribly bloody wars that kill millions. We have too many low information voters already, Adam. Okay. So making the argument. Everyone, I knew it's everyone. It's me against the world. Let's just put it that way. Jonathan Watkins for $2 says, Adam, have a kid for 4 years. You'll change your mind. It's true. I don't have kids, so I may be a bit idealistic here. And I was a perfect saint when I was a kid. So what? What? It's true. I was a perfect saint.
Yeah, okay.
Talk to my mom. She'll tell you. I was an angel.
Adam on.
Adamith for $4.99. Why you gotta make fun of me, shit? Why you gotta make fun of me? Adamith for $4.99. Adding more to this point, Adam, it would open up child laws like labor and criminal cases. It would change the labor and legal system greatly. I don't know that it would. Like, why does it have to?
I don't want children to be forced to work as they once were, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know why they were forced to work? Because they had no voting rights.
Okay.
Hi Zap for £5 says, so guys, what did you think of Joe Biden's amazing answer to the gun control question? It was great, right, guys? It's
fantastic. The whole thing was just great.
Tell us what happened, Aydin.
Biden basically managed to not answer a single one of the softball questions that he was asked.
Oh, go figure.
I know, right? It was an incredible display of circusry. For example, he was asked twice also about what are you going to do to get rid of voter ID laws, and he couldn't even answer that. Two different journalists asked him that, and he couldn't answer it. Nope, he couldn't. He did not give it. He got softball questions, and he did not answer them at all.
Yeah, that sucks. We don't have a president right now. We have an empty suit. Christian C for $5 said, Adam is wrong about voting age, but A team still reigns supreme. That's right, Christian. That is right. In A team, we allow people to have a diversity of opinions here. Okay. We are not authoritarians. We don't make people subscribe to the opinions of the group. We don't have groupthink here. Aydin, you want to respond?
What?
The Wooster for $19.99.
Do I think you're wrong about voting age? Yes, But are you asking me to say Team reigns supreme?
Oh yeah, well that's no. You don't have to say that obviously, but I think you were S class, weren't you?
Yeah.
Why did I even send you a link?
To be fair, hang on. I said S class only because I was thinking about Star Trek.
Oh, whoa! Shot through the heart. Oh my god!
Intentional. This is impossible. There's no way to win here.
Oh, I feel so betrayed. Oh, the knife.
What is that? That's a Kobayashi Maru test. Is that what you're saying? This was a Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah, Kobayashi Maru is a no-win scenario. It's what you put me through.
Look,
I just chose S class because it's a type of ship in Star Trek.
Who's watched more Star Trek, me or Adam?
Me. Adam has watched all Star Trek.
Wrong.
I know what the Kobayashi Maru test is, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah, because
that's not a big deal.
That's not a big
I mean, again, as you've already seen, I speak a little Vulcan, so like my levels of.
What do you want to go Star Trek? Okay, let's go Star Trek. What's the Star Trek trivia you want to throw at me? Take me out in the first question, probably.
Oh, I don't know. I can't think of.
You don't need.
What does IDIC stand for?
Okay, let's move on. The Wooster for 1999. What does it stand for? Just so I can.
It is the Vulcan symbol of logic. It stands for infinite diversity and infinite combinations.
Wow, I kind of like that. Okay, I gotta brush up on my Star Trek. The Wooster for 1999 says, I for one think voting should be a lottery system where every year we spin the wheel and choose an age group between 10 and 100 at 5 age increments, so we have all the voting rights for the year. Let the goddess Fortuna decide. Okay, I like that, the Wooster.
It's a great idea. Yes,
just fight over it.
Yeah,
that is amazing. Yeah, let chance decide. I agree. Why are we even voting? Let's just roll dice. Let's get our D&D dice out, right? John Smith for $1.99 says, why are you having this conversation without me? I gotta tell you, I'm wondering the same question here. Jamie Russell wants to know whether or not NAMBLA is bad. Jamie, if you're asking, that's a bad place to be. Okay, yes. Everybody knows NAMBLA is bad. Okay,
yeah, but I think it's sarcastic. Pretty sure it's sarcastic.
You might want to seek medical attention.
However, I would say
if you're unsure.
I would say people in NAMBLA probably do think that 4-year-olds should vote.
That's right. That's right.
I think if 4-year-olds could vote, they would make sure NAMBLA did no longer exist.
I think
they would make sure that shit was illegal.
You know who else we could fallaciously equate to Adam is Amos Yee. He also believes that 4-year-olds should have the rights over their
Amos Yee is a piece of shit, and I don't know why anyone was even humoring that guy. It was so obvious that
I don't know.
Wait, Aydin, did you talk?
I read a study. No, I didn't talk to him. I read a study, and he showed up in the data.
Oh my god.
I was reading a random study about like contagion within YouTube comments of like mean troll words and stuff, and it and Amos Yee was one of their seed videos they used to run this analysis, and I couldn't believe it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
John Smith for $1.99 says, check your Twitter. I have checked my Twitter. We're going to send you a link, John. We're just finishing the super chats. Okay. Desert Runner for $5 Aussie says, loving these streams, lad. Would love to come on and talk policing and mental health sometime if you're interested. That might be interesting. I mean,
yeah, Desert Runner's a cop, right?
Yeah. Yes. I have many people in law enforcement in my
many emus.
Yes. John Masters for $5 says, the proper party who incentivizes such should, let me try this
again. The proper
again.
party whose incentives
should drive the school system should be the parents, not the children themselves. Yes. Unfortunately, the children are outvoted by the people who don't have children. So the school systems suffer. You want to respond, Aydin?
I just think that if you've ever been to a PTA meeting, the P part kind of plays a role.
That's true.
Well,
it's not random childless people making the localized decisions for what happens within a school district. It's the parents, as in parent teacher conference and parent teacher association.
Right, but funding decisions are made at the state level, and there are
That's
people
true.
like they're asking us, do you want to spend, you want higher property taxes for schools? And you know what I say? Fuck those kids.
You want to know something interesting? Go try to find a elected public official who doesn't have children.
Mm-hmm. What do you think those?
I'm saying it's like a requirement.
What do you think?
Elected. Yeah, it's true.
This is what I actually think is going on. Those funding bills that I see on every single election, the people who don't want the kids to vote are like, those funding bills will pass every single time. You think we want to pay for this nonsense? No, of course not. We don't want more money going into the schools. Fuck those kids. My kids are in private school. That's
I don't want more funding going into putting a Nintendo in every classroom.
Oh,
and I don't want nap time to be illegal.
I don't want more funding going into the schools either, because it's a money suck.
Yeah,
right?
The schools are awful.
They need to be reorganized. Are they awful because they don't have enough funding, or why are they awful?
They're awful. Okay, there's a funny. I talked about this on stream a while ago. There was this person in Florida who was like, "I'm gonna fix all the schools. I know exactly how to do it." And they spent all this money to create all these private charter schools. And basically what they found out was that the private charter schools in the bad areas did as bad as the public schools, but the private charter schools in the good areas did as good as the good public schools. Yes. It's
all about area.
It's all about the population of kids you get in the school.
Yeah. And to some extreme degrees, this is if you don't mind for 1 second, if I go on a tiny bit of a tangent.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
And a personal example. So I went
John's
to a high
gonna
school.
hate you, but it's fine.
Sorry. I went to a high school that is in one of the worst rated school districts in the entire country. It's downtown Baltimore City. I went there for high school. However, I went to it's considered a public school, but it's really a private school. It's Baltimore School for the Arts. I don't mind people knowing that I went there. I've been honest about it.
Baltimore.
Now everyone knows I went to Baltimore School for the Arts. So to get into the school, you have to apply. You have to present all of your artwork, or if you're a dancer, you have to perform in order to get in. It's extremely highly selective. And yet that school, which is a public school, receives so much private funding. By the way, Tupac, that was his high school. Mm-hmm. And also Jada Pinkett Smith, she went there as well. And they give so much money to that school that we're able to have this crazy amount of stuff, like these huge theaters and these huge dance areas and these enormous studios for the artists. That is a public school that is given private funding that is in a shitty area of town, and yet can still exist because people have chosen to give money to that specific school for its specific purpose. Mm-hmm. It can exist based on private donations. It doesn't have to all be public. That's just my thing on the school debate.
But funding does make a difference, right?
Funding makes a difference, but that's all private funding.
Right. Okay.
Jada Pinkett Smith built a $10 million theater there or whatever. So.
Well, I would think if you have a community that is willing to put up a bunch of money for a school, I would assume that means the community cares enough to, raise their children, discipline their children, make them go to school and care about that kind of stuff.
But the reality is that there was no more ability for me as a middle class white person to go to that school than a black person from the projects to go to that school, than a rich Asian person to go to that school. We all had equal access.
Choice. We need some
school
system.
choice.
We need school
100%.
Choice. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of the right wing position, Sitch. Where are you at on school choice?
I'm fine with school choice, sure.
Okay, yeah. So finally, we found a right wing position Sitch likes. You've officially joined the centrist group.
The anti-school choice arguments, I don't know. I've always found them to be kind of. I mean, I've always been in favor of voting ID too, which is supposedly the right wing position. So I remember in high school, our teacher was like, "Okay, if you're a liberal, I'm going to give you a Republican argument, and if you're a Republican, I'm going to give you a liberal argument." And so I'm like, "Okay, I'm a liberal," and she gives me voter ID, and I'm like,
"How old were you against
this?
Happen?
I don't understand."
How old were you when this happened?
17.
Oh my God, you were 17 and you could think for yourself. I can't imagine.
Unbelievable.
I never heard the argument. I was like, I don't.
When I was 17, I was a communist. So
there you go. Wow, terrible.
You vote your way out of that.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, school choice is fine. As long the only thing I do agree with is that there does need to be, and unfortunately, some of our federal guidelines suck, but there does need to be some sort of criteria of what the schools teach. It can't just be all willy-nilly.
Very Dead Horse for $4.99 says a few things. AP team reigns supreme.
Oh, hell yeah.
Aydin, yeah, there you go.
Oh, Aydin Paladin. There we
go.
Hey, right. Why are you 18? Like you have your name's Aydin.
She's AP team.
It's AP team.
Jeez.
Yeah.
you need your own signifier.
Yeah. Maybe there's how about AP squad?
AP squad?
That's fine with me. The squad.
A squad. All right. Welcome to the show, A squad. A squad reigns supreme.
I feel more like it's the AP club.
Okay, it's AP.
Oh,
so
yeah,
why is okay, like a bunch of whales, why is an AP pod?
Oh, that could be good.
The A pod.
The A pod. I like that.
I like it. A pod.
A pod. A pod reigns supreme. You get your rhyme on the next live stream. Also, how do we feel about 4-year-old felons voting? Nap time is theft. Raise the voting age to 25.
Nap time is theft.
How many 4-year-old felons do you guys know? I mean, if they serve
really
their
hard,
time,
dude.
If they serve their time, I'm all for letting them vote. What would they be like 8 years old by the time they get out?
You don't know how hard some 8-year or some 4-year-olds are. My mom again has told me stories where one of them will intentionally smear shit all over a bathroom for no apparent reason.
Oh, no.
Well, and you want to let them vote, Adam?
Yeah. Why don't you read this super chat for us?
I think if you grab your fecal matter with your hand, you should not be able to vote. That should at least be a criteria, right?
What should Hooters yum 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 for $2?
She did it.
Oh my God, that
says should teens be in adult prisons? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, definitely not. No.
I mean, and obviously there's edge cases of like 16, 17-year-olds committing like horrible crimes and stuff.
Versus an 18-year-old, it's a little different.
Right.
John Smith, we are going to let you on. John Smith for $1.09 says, a poem. Every one of you is wrong. For fuck's sake, let me on. I like it.
I don't think that counts as a poem.
It is a beautiful. No,
it does rhyme.
Wait, is it a haiku? Hang on.
No, I don't think.
No, it's not. Immediately,
every
it wasn't.
one of you is wrong. For fuck's sake, let me on.
There you go. There you go.
Butternut for $2 Canadian says, Adam, voting doesn't matter unless kids do. Yeah. Well, okay. Shawl Kramer for $1.99 says, hi guys, talk to Bob Murphy, economist, about MMT. I wonder if he's one of those Austrian guys who pissed me off. I don't think so. Bob Murphy. I do check out these economists. People send me, and I mean, I'm fascinated by this economist stuff. Jay for $2 says, Adam, are kids in control of their lives? To some extent. I mean, I guess maybe I was like ready to be emancipated when I turned 14. I guess a lot of people today, that's just like a different thing. Like as a Generation X, I was a latchkey kid. Man,
that might explain some of this.
Yeah. I was fucking doing my own shit. Like seriously. In junior high, I kind of emancipated myself.
I had a similar sort of growing up only because of my background, but I don't think that's the average. And I don't think it's necessarily, no. I also don't think it's necessarily healthy. I don't know if it is or not. I don't have data on that, so I don't know. But go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, but you're willing to, you don't have data on any of this voting stuff, but you're still willing to categorically deny the rights to people.
I had data on the emotional stability and empathetic stuff. So
Adam, we let emotionally unstable people vote all the time.
Empathy,
why would we want to open the pool to that, right? Mm-hmm.
Why would you want to let people who could be any who if they weren't 16 would be considered sociopaths? But go ahead.
How fun would it be to see Biden offering gumdrops in the next election? Come on, it'd be great.
Everyone that votes for me gets a free shiny Pokemon. There you go.
Oh my God, he probably fucking will.
Yes,
he definitely will. Tristan Verhecke for 10 euros. That's euros, right? Or
that's euros, yes.
Okay. Yep. When you go vote, you should take a 3-hour exam about the policies of the person you're voting for.
I agree, actually. I think that you should be not like a 3-hour exam.
You could tell based on face alone. I know.
No, you should take like a very simple. You should take a very simple. It should be social scientists work all the time on how to truncate measurements and instruments into the smallest form possible, because the longer an instrument is, the less applicable it is and less reliable it is, because people get bored and they stop actually answering. They just start filling in just circle, circle, circle. They don't care. So we're very good at this point at trying to make truncated versions of instruments. If it was just a simple test that said, do you know anything? And it can be randomized about what the person you vote. I do mean it can be randomized. I'm not saying it devalues your vote.
This is not how people vote, though.
Hang on. I don't think it should devalue your vote. You shouldn't be able to vote. But I want those data. I want to know. Yeah. I want to know, as a social scientist, if the person who votes for Biden or Trump knows anything about their policies. A single thing. That's what I want to know.
That'd be interesting.
I don't know why they don't put poll questions on voting. Like, why don't they ask, are you pro-choice or pro-life? Why not? Yeah.
They do sometimes, I think. Although there isn't simply asking some of those questions going to sway people's vote.
It can completely contaminate. It can contaminate the data set. I don't want to go into a spiel, but you have to understand that every single thing that you put into a questionnaire could potentially influence people's emotional state, and
they would totally game the system.
Sure.
They would game the system so
big
fast.
American flag with an eagle screaming at the top of the voting ballot.
That would make a big difference.
Republicans would never lose.
There you go.
No, not necessarily. It could create reactants. So.
Oh yeah, that's true. The Retro Future Research Foundation, which is a great name, look at that, for €5 says, "Hey Adam, are you fine with having children paying taxes and making them eligible for the draft? If so, I am fine with lowering the voting age." Okay, well, hell yeah, sure.
Let's put toddlers. We'll have the toddler division.
Let's make them pay sales tax. Oh, wait, they already do pay sales tax.
Well, they don't pay anything. Mommy and daddy do. Right. But let's make them eligible for the draft. Again, we'll have the toddler division.
Yeah.
Who don't you guys? When did you guys start working?
Just put a bunch of bombs on the kids, let them run through the enemy combatants' lines, and just.
You guys didn't start working when you turned 16?
I did.
No,
I did 100%.
I started working when I turned 16.
Yeah, but we're not talking about 16-year-olds. We're talking about 4-year-olds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I started paying taxes when I turned 16. I paid payroll tax.
My dad would have disowned me if I hadn't started working when I was 16.
I think if your argument was 16-year-olds who work and pay taxes should vote, I think you'd get a lot less pushback.
No, I get just as much pushback.
I don't
just so you know.
A 14-year-old and a 16-year-old and a 4-year-old are all different numbers.
You know why I don't go?
Age is just a number, man.
You know why I don't go the 16? You're saying that I would get more buy-in if I went with the 16. It
seems like a least somewhat reasonable position.
Like I said,
you know
they're
why
all
I don't
arbitrary.
Because you don't want
why I don't do that?
Because you want to buck the system.
Principles.
Okay.
Principles, Sitch.
Some
people have principles.
Adam has a principle of stupidity. Okay, whatever stupid idea he has, he's gonna fight for the death of it.
I don't find this to be principled, but I respect your perception that it's principled. I respect
it. Very well put.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Ah, that's the best backhanded compliment I've ever gotten.
Yes.
Sorry.
Wonderful.
John Smith for $4.99. Adam, for the love of God, how much money do I need to send you before you let me on?
We gotta let this dude on.
John, we don't know how disruptive you'll be. So I just want to get through the super chat so we know we actually have them finished. Please, whatever you do, don't super chat after John comes on. All hell will break loose. Nigel Savoy for $5 says that feeling when your mom, dad, and your dad's boyfriend all start arguing at dinner. Hold on. Can I be I feel like I should be the mom's boyfriend in this scenario.
No, you're the dad's boyfriend.
Dad's
dad's boyfriend. What the fuck? Oh my God, that's hilarious. John oh no.
Alessandrini the second.
Alessandrini the second.
Alessandrini the second for $5. The wisdom of crowds works with jelly beans, but not policy. Plenty of examples of that. So the wisdom of crowds works in social psychology too, though.
No. Sometimes the data on that are a bit up in the air. The wisdom of crowds the wisdom of crowds in terms of being able to do crowdsource stuff, like being able to crack
betting markets.
Absolutely, 100%. However, wisdom of crowds and being able to determine social systems, you don't want to look at that. It's not
maybe I
great.
do. If it doesn't, if it makes my argument worse, I'm dying to get off this argument. I just need a piece of evidence. No one's bringing me any evidence.
People are incredibly able to come up with better ideas when they work in tandem and in collaboration with one another. That is undisputed. However, they also tantrum spiral into stupid ideas.
And spiral.
Yes.
Is this aimed at me?
I don't. Do you like Dwarf Fortress? I don't know. I actually don't know.
Like to throw tantrums, so.
Well, no, a tantrum spiral in Dwarf Fortress is when like a bunch of dwarfs, whatever, doesn't matter. The reality, my point here is that what you inherently always see with human communication, this is without fail.
Oh my God,
people always will break into. I'm sorry. Let me get done with this. People will always break into tiny little sub-social groups, and as a result of that, it always means they'll be antithetical to one another. Mm-hmm. Sorry, go ahead. But the reality is that even though humans in aggregate are really good at solving problems, like when these people have put together these problems on the internet and said, solve this. Yes, they're good at that, but they're also very good at hating each other. So, the funniest thing is
does the problem get solved? Because I don't care if they hate each other as long as the problem's solved.
It depends on a number of factors, including anonymity. Anonymity is a big factor in this that it would take me like a paragraph to even begin to explain, so I'm not going to.
Jonathan Stoffel for $1.99. The best stories are stories first. Exactly. That's obviously about the Star Wars stuff. Corporal Noobs for €2 says World War Z book is interesting intermedium. I guess because it involves politics.
I've never read it, so
I never read it.
It's a much better book than it is film. I'll put it that way.
You've read it?
And it's not a great book, but the movie was kind of awful. I've read the book. It's been like 10 years since I've read the book.
That's the one with Brad Pitt, right?
Yeah. I think so.
All I remember is all the zombies climbing over each other.
Which looked cool, but
it did. 95 Keats for $5 says the problem is people mix everything is political with everything can be made political and treating them the same. You can read into anything. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah,
that is a great point. Sure, you can make it political. We're very good at that, right? That's cherry picking, rationalizing, all that good stuff. Ivar Gatrix for $2 says, Aydin, educate us on Piedo lefties and their history.
I have a video on it.
Do you?
I have. It's a 2-part series. It's old. You can check it out. I don't want to go into it more, but at this point, because I don't want to get your stream in trouble, to be honest.
Okay.
But the history is definitely there, and it's very scary.
Is it like
it's the Foucault? It's the Foucault.
All those dirty French perverts.
Oh my God. I'm gonna look this up. It sounds interesting.
You might be very upset, Adam. And look at my videos,
Okay.
I guess, on it. My 2 videos. There's a 2-part series, and it was a very old video I made, so it probably doesn't sound good. I'm sure the audio sounds
That's okay.
goddamn fucking awful, but it was one of the first videos I made, and it's not great.
Okay. His app for £2 says WW Wapes.
Wonder Woman rapes the guy who Steve is in control of.
Wonder Woman rapes the guy with Steve. Is it control of? So there's some man rape going on.
It's super weird in Wonder Woman 1984 that the fact that Steve has possessed another man's body is never brought up as a moral dilemma for any character in the movie.
They've literally abducted a man, stolen his life.
It's so weird. It's never brought up. I know.
You're supposed to see past that.
There's no way that could not be described in some way as rape if she has sex with him, right?
Totally.
Right.
Mr. Ubercross for $10. The hero's journey isn't even the best version of that idea. Dan Harmon does a simplified story circle that it's it all that gets it all. Maybe also Ubercross with a soft Z. It's so soft it's practically a J. Ubercross.
What's a soft Z?
So I am aware of Dan Harmon's story circle. It is very good. I encourage people to look it up. It's a lot of TV writers take advantage of it because the example is you can go through like a character arc and still end up at the same place for the next episode, which is generally how TV works.
Yeah, Harmon has had some good ideas, but if everyone's getting canceled all the time, Dan Harmon is someone you would want to look to, I would say.
Yeah, he did that hilarious thing about having sex with a baby, right?
Yep.
Oh my God. That was actually, I believe, a Channel 101 short, which I've done Channel 101 shorts. The Carjackers for Jesus was famously a Channel 101 short that never got accepted. So Miss Artham 6 for 100 CZKs. What Czechoslovakian? Kazarks. Listen, Sitch does these on our Sundays.
I have no idea.
The problem they have with the hero's journey is that it's mediocrity.
Meritocracy.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Completely different. No, please do. I'm super dyslexic. So Wokistan is victim culture, showing that people achieve by overcoming difficulties is contradictory to their worldview, to their view of the world. Yeah,
it's true.
Shorten it up a little bit. Yeah. There's a book that I haven't read on victimhood culture by who are the guys? Aydin, do you know this book?
What is
it? There's a book on victimhood culture. Bradley Manning and is it Jason Manning and Bradley something or other? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
They did a lot of studies on victimhood culture and wrote a book. I'm dying to read the book, but it doesn't have an audiobook version, which really sucks.
What? Can you stop listening to audio?
I'm so bad.
I like audiobooks as well. Listen, I like audiobooks as well, but sometimes you gotta just read it. You just have to read it, my friend.
I'm dying from these super chats, Aydin. Can't you see? Like my eyes are getting glassy here. The Butter Anvil for $2. Get Aydin and Rags on a Sunday show. Also, hi Rags. Well, Aydin, we've had Aydin on a couple times.
Also, Rags and I played a D&D game together for like a year, so it's not like we're enemies.
if we're forced to do a 24-hour stream, you can guarantee we're going to be begging Aydin to come on this Sunday.
Probably not, because my time zone is at a point where yours meets when I'm like.
That's true.
It'd be like 4. If you start to get sleepy, it's like midnight. It'd be fucking 4 a.m. here.
Yeah. Well, but we will. If we're up 24 hours, we're going to be sometime in your time.
If you're up 24 hours and you start messaging me at 8 in the morning, that would work. But
utter nonsense for $4.99 says the Empire is actually sent. Oh, we read this one. Whew.
Yes.
I think you read that one, but Stug for $5 says serious question. After everything that has happened these past few years, do you all really believe the politicians would never push gummy bears? Of course they'd push gummy bears. It's just a question of whether or not it's just a question of whether or not the voting constituency is there. And I would argue that it will be overwhelmed by other voting constituencies.
They open up the voting constituency to 8-year-olds and say, we're going to give you gummy bears if you vote for us, kids.
Oh my God.
I'm not I know it's a bit of a meme, but let's be real. If you're trying to open up voting to 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds, they're not going to be making. And even Adam, I think even you can admit to this, that people
principles, Aydin. You don't understand how principles work.
This is not a principled argument. That people who are, I mean, it is not that people who are for are not going to be swayed by principles. They will be swayed by whether or not they get gummy bears.
Which is a better idea? 12-year-olds voting or worker co-ops?
I would much rather worker co-ops. Actually, worker
co-ops. Oh my God!
When you say
he is a communist.
Wait. When you say worker co-ops, do you mean just them existing, or do you mean government mandated worker co-ops?
Absolutely not government. Nothing should be government mandated.
Yeah,
nothing should be government mandated.
I'm asking about government mandated worker co-ops.
No, nothing.
I meant it to be easy.
Absolutely nothing should be government mandated. If you choose to form your worker co-op, I don't care.
Well, except for prohibiting 17-year-old Sitch from voting. That's mandated.
That's right.
Well, even though he is literally smarter than the teacher.
But I excuse me, when I say nothing should be government mandated, I mean outside of messing with the lives of literal children. Excuse me. I am sorry. I must admit that I do have a bias of wanting to protect children from being harmed in some way.
So do I. I want to protect the children too. You're the one that wants to disenfranchise them.
I know. I mean, it's an argument that people can have. Sorry.
General Disarray for $10 says, I'm certain the reason you think the far right is a minority is because anything right of center gets banned. I work all over the rural South, and they are right of Attila the Hun. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The rural South is right of Attila the Hun. Yeah.
There you go.
I actually don't know where that politic lies.
Yeah. I've worked. I mean, I lived in the South too, and I thought people were much more right. So
yeah.
John's. Oh, I read this one already.
I read the next.
I think we're
one
getting.
Too.
I think we're
the
getting
next
close.
three actually.
John. Oh, look at
Go to
this.
Metalworks.
Is this painful for you, Sitch? Are you glad you do these on the Sunday show?
A little bit. I'm a little.
Go ahead. I'll let you take over.
Metalworks for $11.90 for $10 says young people barely vote already. If anything, it would just be weirdos who are into politics like me. 16? Oh no. The poll horrors of like 5 to 10 kids voting. Also, I hate to be that guy, but LOTF is fiction.
Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, I know. The Flies is fiction.
Sorry.
I'm a little bit on my side there.
Justin the Fire for $5 says, it's like Sargon says, service equals citizenship. Should we have a kids army?
I'm game. Let's do it.
No.
That'd be fun. Fight them against each other.
We know
Let's call it football.
We know that child armies always leads to good outcomes.
Dude.
Okay.
Holy
I'm
shit.
trolling. What?
You want to have a kids army?
Yeah.
We already have one. It's called football. I'm sorry, but we do.
I don't want to put children into war.
No, well, simulated war.
Kids are the best. Wait. No, the kids are the best at war because they don't have.
They don't have empathy.
Exactly. That's why they're the best at it.
Oh my god.
They're sneaky.
Got them. Gotcha. The Ed Boy for $5 says, I'd only agree with Adam about letting 16-year-olds vote if we, after we get them kids some anti-fragile training, a team for life.
There we go. Perfect.
All right.
Contrast for $5 says, hey, Adam, what if 12-year-olds could vote and end up voting to lower the age of consent? Also, what if they were from the future?
Well, I don't know.
Wait
that,
a minute. If they're from the future, they're not actually 12 years old, so they don't count.
No, but they're 12-year-olds from the future. What do you mean?
But wait a minute.
I'm curious.
But how old are they now then?
They're still 12. I'm assuming they mean a 12-year-old from the future comes back in time at the age of 12.
From the future comes back to make to try and make policy changes while they're what? Babies?
12. While they're 12.
No, they come back from the future.
They become 0 when they go back in time.
If they're from the future, they're obviously older, right?
Give me kind of a headache.
Utter nonsense brings up a fantastic point. He says kids have smaller hitboxes. There you go. See, we need this.
That is true.
We need this child
army thing going on. I want to answer the question sincerely, though. It would make me super, super uncomfortable to know that people put lowering the age of consent on a ballot for people to vote on. I looked up actually the age of consent and how the age of consent laws formed over time. And I tell you, it's disgusting because the age of consent was like 12 years old in our not distant enough past for me. Mm-hmm. And the age of consent was raised by legislature. So the idea that people are going to put lowering the age of consent on a ballot and people are going to vote on it as a ballot initiative would totally gross me out. And I really can't imagine something like that happening. So, I mean, who's going to do that? Like, who's going to, what activists are going to come in and say we need to lower the age of consent? And what are they lowering it to? I mean, I don't. This doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I mean, I don't want to be one of those people those conservatives who say like leftists are pedophiles or whatever, because
most of them are.
There's a lot of evidence. Okay, thank you for saying it.
I don't know if you throw in the Catholics, doesn't that come out?
Oh my God!
I get it. The Catholics do
each other's out.
They do throw the balance off, but
that's wisdom of God right there.
I just have a huge sort of issue with anyone who appears to be trying to decrease the age of consent, because I
completely agree.
I don't know why that's happening, and it's confusing and disconcerting.
Yeah. Who is doing that? Are people really trying to lower the age of consent? You're kidding me.
I mean, I don't think it's a lot of people. It's some weirdos. No.
It's some weirdos. Yeah, it's some weirdos.
Yeah, those people we should take out to the edge of town and like take them out of the gene pool, right? I mean, am I wrong?
But hang on, why are we lowering the age of consent if 4-year-olds can vote?
God, let's move on.
Sorry.
Joshua Nofsky for $2 says Adam wants the final solution.
No, I don't want. I don't want any solution. Come on, I'm here for fun.
Color commentary for $2 says I verse in Jet or Rix.
Iverse and Jeterix.
Yes. Sometimes we say Geterix with a G.
I say Geterix because of you.
Iverse and Jeterix.
Yeah. I say because of gifts, not GIFs, right?
Not the fuck. Prince Charming for $10 says, is there any literature on the content? Oh God. What? I don't know if I should read this. Is there any literature on the content of Aydin's pants and how to access them? A step-by-step guide. Appreciated. Her brain activates my weaponized chromosome laser.
Yeah, be a British D&D GM. That
Aydin, you're in a relationship, aren't you? Are you?
Yeah. Well, we would have been married by now because of fucking coronavirus. We could.
Oh my God! You had to postpone the wedding. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, guys. Aydin is spoken.
It's all good.
You're not supposed to say that.
Just play. I know. I'm not supposed to.
Then the simps won't simp for you as hard anymore.
The simps won't simp. Yeah. Just be better at D&D than he is, I guess.
That's how you base your mate selection is around D&D.
It's kind of how it worked. So.
Johnny Stoffel for $1.99 says the enemy is down. 11-year-old strategy. Yes, that's right. Let's have Ender's Game, but for real. Yes.
Okay.
True. Mr. Uberkrov Kraj for $20 says your fathers know that Azure is said with a soft Z.
Azure?
Wait, how do you say the word
Azure? Azure.
Oh, Azure. Oh, okay. Azure. Like Uber crows, but just blah blah blah. Like, I spent $5 on this. You know how much currency the government had to create so I could make the super chat? It's ridiculous.
Oh my god.
Fuck you, mister. Okay. Fuck you. Anyways. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
No, I did. I sent John.
Oh no,
I know. I'm fucking with him.
You don't have to. You don't have to stick around, Aydin. Obviously, I guess Sitch. Technically, you don't have to stick around.
If I'm gonna leave, I'll leave. But I'm gonna stick around for a while. So,
what's going on, John? Where are you?
So.
What's going on, John? What happened? I sent you the link like 5 minutes ago. I expected you in here already.
I'm very excited for the shit post.
Yes.
Well, I don't. Yeah, John. Like, John has a wrench in the chat, so he's obviously like a regular watcher.
Wait! Yeah. Come on, John, click the link. John, we're going to give you 20 seconds. I'm going to count down from 20. And if you're not are we
doing the outro?
20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12. You should be playing like the 24 like sound. 11.
Oh,
10. Oh, you made it! You made it! Oh my god, you did it!
Hi.
Hi, what's up?
Hey.
That's not a John. Well, maybe. Sorry.
John, what's going on?
Hi. Not much.
Well,
except that you're all wrong, every one of you.
About
I am honestly
voting
wrong
age?
about everything.
Yeah.
How are we all
Why?
wrong? We all have opposite positions from each other.
Okay. Your rationale is all wrong.
I see.
Okay. Crap. Okay. I've never done this
John,
before.
That's fine.
I know it's distracting. Take a breath. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first? I've seen you in the chat for a long time. I've given you a wrench. I'm pretty communist.
You give everybody a wrench. I don't know what that means.
I'm kind of
I'll tell you a bit. Okay, I'm a girl, if you can't tell.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. I didn't want to like.
We didn't want
are you an 8-year-old boy or something?
No, I'm Jewish, right? So I'm a
nice.
And
J team.
I'm a female in STEM, right?
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm a super minority, right?
Super unicorn.
Yeah, right. So really, the fact that you haven't had me on earlier is really a testament to how the patriarchy is a real thing, and why I am the most oppressed person on the stream. So
we just have to take everything you say at face value. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't, then I guess you're just anti-Semitic.
Well, all of us with Sitch, of course.
That's right. I get the J pass. But wait, what? So why is your name John Smith then?
Okay. Well, I have like a bit of a paranoia thing. Like, like I don't want my anything associated with my real name and stuff in case it. I
can't imagine anyone that would ever want to do anything like that.
Can I be really very quickly? Sorry, I'm a fucking weirdo communication person. You're fine, because I can hear the tremolo in your voice. You're fine. No one. Okay. There's a tremolo in your voice. It's okay.
I don't know what that means, but
it means that there's a tremor in your voice.
Oh
which
yeah,
is
okay.
A sign of fear. But
no. Okay, I'm
not saying that to be rude. I'm saying that to try.
God, Aydin, you're artistic.
No, I'm saying to try and move it down. There's nothing to be afraid of, right?
No, it's always like that. Cause it's always like that. Cause I have autism too. So.
Okay.
But
that's why understandable.
Yeah. But my name is Megan, so I don't care if you call me that.
Doxed.
I like Mr. Smith.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with Smith.
That's actually a Doctor Who reference. So whenever the Doctor needs like a real name, he says John Smith. So that's why.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. But okay. So I promised to make Adam curl up in the fetal position.
I know.
Let's see.
Yes.
So, okay. First, I guess it's just just so we get the basics down. Why do we vote? Why does someone have the right to vote, in your opinion?
Because they should have a say in the policies that are going to govern their lives.
Okay, I agree with that, but don't you think that there should be some kind of reciprocation, we all kind of feed into the system that is the government, right? We're all kind of a part of that. We're all, and when you turn 18, we say as a society, right, that you are now responsible for your actions. You have to pay taxes. You have to do jury duty. You have to do all these things, and because you're doing all these things, we give you the right to vote because you have a say in all of these things. You have, a financial stake in all of this. But when you're a child, right, you don't have a say in these things because when you're a child, we give you a certain amount of time where you can make, all these mistakes and do all of these things, and we as a society don't hold it against you, right?
Yeah.
So
are you saying that there's a responsibility associated with voting that's associated with other adult responsibilities that children don't have?
Yes, because you keep saying voting doesn't. Sorry.
I just want to ask a question because it touches on what you're saying. So you're conceptualizing voting as a privilege then?
Yes.
Okay, so is it a privilege to have a say in the policies that are going to govern your life?
Well, wait a minute. I don't think she is. You aren't really saying it's a privilege. You're saying it's a responsibility, right?
It's a privilege and a responsibility.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm not really going to argue this point, but I personally don't think. I think if you should be able to opt out of taxes, but if you opt out of paying an income tax, you shouldn't be able to vote.
I agree.
Everyone would do that immediately. That would.
That's not
voting would be reduced.
No,
down
I don't think that's true either, Adam. I
Really?
think that people would.
I'm done. I'm not voting anymore.
I agree. I agree that most of us would be. But you have to understand. Hang on.
40% of the population would not pay taxes then, because 40% of the population doesn't vote already.
And
lots of people don't pay taxes anyways. Lots of people are on welfare. Why are all these people? Why?
So you're conceptualizing though, as there is a transactional situation going on here where you're basically paying for the right to have a say in the policies that will govern your life.
Yes, but there's other things that you're doing when you opt out. You're saying when you if you don't want to pay taxes, if you don't want to get drafted, I think females should be drafted because it's not just there's not just soldiers, there's also cooks and all these other things, so it's not
the women coming in. When we've abolished the draft for 20 years, all the women are coming in and saying, oh yeah, we should get drafted too. They are drafting men. We have an all-volunteer army.
If you are going to reinstate the draft, if you are going to reinstate it.
Right.
But okay,
I had to sign up for the draft when I turned 18 years old, but I'm guessing none of you had to do that.
I did. What are you talking about?
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there are all these responsibilities that come with voting, and over time we've kind of eliminated this connection, which I don't think is a good thing. Where the reason why women weren't able to vote in the first place was because they were not part of the draft. They weren't drafted, and they didn't have to do carry buckets of water when places were on fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then so a woman wanted to vote, but they don't want to do any of that. So then they were just oh well, and I disagree with that, right? But you should voting is a responsibility. you said, voting, like, what does it matter? It's just one voice, but it's your responsibility as a citizen of the country that you live in to think, carefully about who you're going to vote for, because it's not just, you're taking a part in the larger society. So when you vote, you're saying, you're electing someone who's going to decide, whether or not you go to war, whether or not you're going to fight in the war, what your taxes are, all these things, right? Children are not responsible for this, which is a good thing, but they're not affected by any of this.
You're conceptualizing voting much differently than me, and this is the problem. One of the reasons why I find having these debates interesting, because you're conceptualizing voting as we're all going to the polls and we're deciding the future. And I don't conceptualize voting that way. I wouldn't be presumptuous to believe that any of us can interpret the future, what's going to happen in the future. I see voting as a check on the past, and everyone deserves a say in what their current situation is. So I'm just saying, if we expand voting rights to more people, there are people in this is the way society generally functions over time. The people who have a say can say, my life sucks, the situation's bad for me, I'm going to vote for new leadership to change that. The people who don't have a vote, their lives tend to suck more and more and more, because everyone puts all of the whatever shit of society on those people that don't necessarily have any kind of voting rights. And I would even go as far as saying this is one of the reasons why our public schools have gotten in this situation where they're so awful, is because the one constituency left that doesn't have a say in those public schools are the people that predominantly utilize those public schools.
But sorry, go ahead, John Smith.
Well, I mean, just to at least tell me you guys understand the argument.
No, I understand what you're saying.
It's just stupid, but we understand it.
Why is it
because
stupid?
I 1000% understand your argument when it comes to people who are from Mexico who come to the United States and need to have their rights preserved, because otherwise, guess the reality is they will be abused by people if they're not citizens.
I disagree. I mean, I disagree with that.
They are being abused. They are being abused, Aydin. And for that reason,
that's what I'm saying. They're being abused.
We can have a different conversation about that, but you're actually making my argument.
I think that's kind of
agreeing with you, my dude.
Well, no, you're saying that they're being abused because they don't have voting rights. They don't have political power.
Okay, but that's
political power.
That's not
political
accurate.
power is always.
But they can gain that voting rights.
This is kind of a separate argument.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
So you're saying everyone should have a say in the way that they're treated, right?
Right. Correct.
But to do that requires responsibility, right? Like, you're responsible for yourself, right?
I don't conceptualize it as transactional. I think you are doing you're doing society a favor by weighing in on what your situation is like.
But wait, voting is literally transactional, because if you violate the laws of society, break the law, go to jail, you can't vote.
Because you're removed from the society?
No, it's not because you're removed from society. It's because you violated the laws of society. You only get the vote
because
if
you're literally removed from the society.
No, but
when you're incarcerated, you're literally removed from society.
Yeah, but that's not why. Logistically, they could still easily have people that are in jail vote. The reason is, if you're not going to follow the rules of society, you don't get to participate in the governance of that society. Okay, so it is transactional.
Because you're going to be removed from that society. For the same reason, undocumented aliens can't vote.
No, it's
they're not a part of the
reason.
society.
That's a
they're not a
completely
part of the
different
citizenship.
I
What makes you a part of the society.
I want to
But
get
anyway,
back to the point that Adam originally brought up, right?
Mhm.
You were saying
transactional.
Yeah. So, it is transactional on a fundamental level, right? Because you were saying, you're weighing in, right? But you're weighing in on something that, like, people are giving to you, right? Like, your parents and society are paying for schooling in this case, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Maybe,
they're the
I don't
ones.
know.
Well, they pay taxes, right? I mean,
Some people,
you're a
I'm
child.
sure many people in public schools their parents do not pay taxes because they're too poor to pay taxes.
Okay, well, okay, we're talking. Okay, I'm talking about what should be, not necessarily what is, right?
Okay.
So, in a perfect world, right, which is kind of how we conceptualize these things and kind of how we try to build the overlying structures of our society, with people pay taxes, right? They pay into the system so they get something out of it, right?
Well,
So
if you
they're lucky.
if you envision it that way, but like I said, I'm not envisioning that way. I don't like the transactional aspect of it, because then you get into this situation where you're saying, I'm paying you basically, so I have the right to have a say in the policies that you're coming up with that will govern my life, which is like, thanks. That should be a right. I shouldn't have to pay to have a say in the
I disagree,
policies that are going to govern my life.
That becomes a that becomes a positive right.
I just said it was. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
That's a positive right. You're saying I don't need anything, right? Like, or I don't need to give you anything, but you have to give me things, right? Like that's not fair. You're requiring someone else's labor. Like,
not necessarily.
How?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, if you
it depends.
What do you mean, not necessarily?
Well, I mean, it depends upon what, like, if we're voting on president of the United States, like what are people giving me? Like, I'm going to have to live under the president of the United States, just like you're going to have to live under the president of the United States if you're American, obviously. Other people outside, they don't count, just so you know. But we all, like, how is that? That's not really a transactional thing. It's like I should have a say in the president of the United States.
That's well, this is kind of goes back to the.
I'm saying nobody's giving me anything when I'm voting for the president of the United States. Nobody's like giving me anything.
No. Well, okay, technically, well, that's not really true, right? Because presidents, they don't really decide, or at least they shouldn't really be deciding policy, but they are making decisions that affect you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
they absolutely make decisions that affect policy.
No, I mean,
do. She means legislation. Yeah.
And that is part of it.
But they should can. Okay, I'm very libertarian oriented, so I think strongest government, the government that should have the most control over your life is local, and then it goes state, and then it goes to the president. Like,
agree 100%.
So that's kind of where I'm starting from. So I'm like, obviously today, right? Like the president has a lot more say in these things, but I'm talking about we're talking about this in a theoretical space, obviously.
Sure,
right?
totally.
Right. But I just want to be clear. We had to separate when we're talking about transactional for voting. You have to separate that. Yes, for who you vote for is transactional in terms of politicians are going to give something to their voters. That's transactional. But we have to separate that from should the act of voting itself be transactional.
Yeah, great
for
point.
For the citizenry, which I say it is, because you have to follow the rules of society, and that's a transaction.
I agree with that. I think if you want to go,
I agree with that transaction, but she's trying to. Other people want to attach different transactions. Sitch. They want to say it's paying your taxes. They want to say it's like, I agree with you, following the rules is part of the transaction, but I don't think paying taxes should be part of the transaction.
I do not think paying taxes
or serving in the military should be part of the transaction.
Exactly.
So then let's go back to following the rules, right? When an adult breaks the rules, they have serious consequences. But when a child breaks the rules, because we say you're a child, right? We're giving you this amount of time, 18 years, the first 18 years of your life, to make as many mistakes as you want to make, right? And we're not going to blame you.
Murder people, though.
To a degree.
Okay, that's a little extreme, right?
Well, you can't.
They have
if you break a window when you're
they have to follow the same rules adults do. Yeah, if you break a window,
they're not.
But break a window, you don't pay, right? Your parents pay.
Your parents pay. Correct.
Yeah. So it's not you. It's your parents are taking responsibility for you. So they're the ones who vote on your behalf. You do not have this responsibility.
I'm not. You're in the voting as a responsibility camp. I'm in the voting as a right camp.
Well, how I have trouble understanding how you can say you have the right to vote for this.
Can I put it?
Can I decide all these huge things when you don't have responsibility over yourself, over your own actions? Like, if you don't have responsibility really for your own actions, and that kind of falls on the shoulders of your parents, how can we say, you have a right to vote? Like, it just, don't you see that there's kind of a disconnect there?
For you, yeah, I do. But not for me. I mean, I conceptualize voting as a right. People have a right to live, to have a say in the policies that govern the policies and leaders that govern their lives.
But Adam, why can you vote and not drink?
No.
Ultimately, I think becomes a big part of the issue.
First of all, Aydin, please. You answer that for me, because I've answered it 15 times. You should be able to answer that.
Please answer it. I know that Adam has answered it.
I would like you to answer that, Aydin, because I've told you 15 times. I think
danger. He's equating us all to danger.
There we go. Thank you so much.
No, it's not. It's not about danger. It's not about danger. It doesn't have to do with anything like that. Okay, it's just responsibility. Like the reason why. All of these things, right? Driving, like all of these things, it's not just because there's contracts. It's not just because there's danger. It's because there's responsibility involved.
Yes.
You have to be responsible for your own actions before you can sign a contract. You know why?
Society, you know why?
Yes.
So it's directly related to the danger level, because you're putting another person, typically your parents, in a situation where they will be forced to be responsible for the level of danger you are exhibiting. Okay. Voting is nowhere near that kind of danger. Yet all of you want to talk about, like, if a 12-year-old walks into the voting booth and votes incorrectly, it's going to be the fall of Western civilization.
No, Adam.
Oh my God, it's going to be like a teen pregnancy.
No, that's
it's going to be like a car accident that kills a family of 4.
You're strawmanning my argument. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying, like, I'm saying that it's not. I was literally saying that it's not about danger, right? Like, I'm not saying that I think this is going to happen. It has nothing to do with whether or not if a bunch of, like, adults wanted to go vote to destroy the country, like, that's their prerogative, right?
They do. The Trump voters, they do it every 4 years.
Yeah. Okay. So, but it's about responsibility. Who has responsibility, right? It's not about. It
hurts me when you say that.
Well, no,
you're literally setting up a situation where you're saying, I want to have responsibility for these other people, and I know what's best for them.
That's not what. No.
That's not the argument. It's saying their parents are doing that. Your parents.
So their parents only get one vote.
No, Adam. The argument is that.
Are you saying they have responsibility for 2 people and they only get one vote?
Okay. The argument is that it's weird conceptually, and it's a society to say that children do not have responsibility over their actions and their lives and all these other areas, but for some reason they magically get it when it comes to voting, which does have a real effect on the governance of society. That's a very bizarre conception for people to wrap their minds around, and I don't think you can just wave it away and say, well, that doesn't count because that's not how I'm conceptualizing it.
Let's please conceptualize how this is working. It's fine for me to do personal harm to myself by drinking or prostituting or whatever the hell else I'm allowed to do when I'm 18 or 21 years old, but I am under no obligation to have any kind of moral or ethical duty.
That's just like every single adult, Aydin. That's just like every single adult. There's absolutely no difference between an adult voting and a child voting. You're literally making my argument again.
Adults are perceived as being responsible for their actions, while children are not.
Okay, so as an adult, when you vote, as a member of society, right? When your politicians, right, decide things, right? You as a member of society, right? You as someone who has voted, you are in some ways, right, responsible for the actions of those politicians. So you
in
are
aggregate, your responsibility is 1/70 millionth.
It doesn't. That
Like
doesn't
you
matter.
are 1/70
Only
millionth
matter.
responsible for electing.
Only if you're paying taxes.
No. Wait, okay, it
You're
doesn't
What do
matter.
you, hold on, Aydin, how does that have anything to do with the argument? Like seriously, if you voted for Biden, listen, our audience all the time gives Sitch a hard time for voting for Biden. Sitch is 1/75 millionth responsible for the situation.
It does not matter.
I actually don't
responsible
care.
at all is what matters. Because how are you, even if you like 1/70 millionth, of a responsibility, that's infinitely more responsible than zero, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you have any responsibility at all, it doesn't. If you're a child, you can't have that. That's infinitely more responsibility than you're supposed to have as a child, right?
Well, I'm only pointing this out in the concept because you guys are attacking my argument about the danger thing. Like you're saying
not about that.
If people vote incorrectly, we might get the next drunken tyrant that's going to take over the country. Well, then what does it matter? I mean, if it makes literally very little difference if Trump is elected or Biden is elected, then what does it matter if anyone votes?
It has to do with the difference between an adult and a child, and between. Okay, let me try to put it this way. I feel like I already have. Children do not have. We say you don't have responsibility because we're giving you a certain amount of time, in your life where you can mess up all you want, right? So.
Well, no, you can't mess up all you want.
Okay, if a 4-year-old kills someone, we don't say they're responsible for their actions.
Even if you kill someone, you can get away with it if you're charged as a minor.
Like, if a 4-year-old shoots someone, they're not going to go to prison for the rest of their life.
So, like, there's this difference, and to kind of mix these two things, like, to say you have responsibility over who is elected, because it doesn't matter that it's one in 300 million, right? What matters is that you have this responsibility. We're saying that you are responsible for your own actions, but how can a child be responsible for their own actions, right? It has nothing to do with care harm. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with responsibility. Who has it, when they're allowed to have it. Like, how can you say, like, you're responsible for this, but you're not responsible for any of these other things?
What are you worried is going to happen? Are you worried
it's not about that
they're going to vote incorrectly, that they're going to vote Trump and they should have voted Biden?
No. It's not about who they vote. That's a completely different point. Okay, it has.
How am I changing the subject, Sitch? I don't know.
They could vote for Hitler if they want. It doesn't matter, right?
She's not talking about harm. She's talking about the concept of the difference between an adult and child, and the responsibility and culpability that children and adults have, and how society views them through this lens.
Right.
Yeah, but that's nothing to do with the harm.
You're saying that society views them as irresponsible.
No. Well, kind of, but not. We're not saying. Okay, it's not about whether or not you as an individual are responsible or not. Like, you could have some kind of genius, like,
right, we're talking about classes of people.
Who's actually, he's like 100, but he's in the body of a 2-year-old. Like that's not what this is about. What it's about, it's about the allotted time that we give people, right? To say
to be irresponsible.
Up. Yes.
Yeah.
So if you're irresponsible, how?
Yeah, watch out, Wormy's coming. Now he said what? She said she told you she was going to beat you into a fetal position.
Look at this emotional manipulation.
Manipulation.
Tell me, what should 12-year-olds vote? Come on, look how cute. 12-year-olds should vote.
Now we all have to agree Adam is right about everything.
Why are you oppressing Wormy? Should
I
women
not
get a
oppression.
vote?
To
Don't
be
you think it would
honest,
be? Don't you think if you gave children responsibility and say, you're no longer a child because you have responsibility, right? Like, don't you think that in a way is oppressing them because you're not giving
Ooh.
them the opportunity to learn and not have this, have a period where they're not responsible for their actions? Like, don't you think that
Now you're conceptualizing voting as a burden?
it is? It's a responsibility.
I'm not saying mandatory voting. I'm saying abolish the voting age. Let anyone who wants to vote.
No, it's voting is a burden. Like,
Okay.
voting, it's not about if you have to vote. It's about, like, when you vote, you take your place in society, right? And that should be viewed as a burden. So placing this
some voting is a burden, sometimes it's not. I mean, it's a burden if I'm not interested in any of the things on the ballot. If I'm interested, then it's right.
Okay, maybe I think kind of when I say burden, right? I mean like your definition of burden is not really kind of what I'm using, I think. Like, some people like enjoy, having a burden. Like, it's not necessarily like I'm saying, you like it or you don't like it. When I say that, I mean, it's something that you're responsible for, something that you could be blamed for if something goes wrong, right? Like, when I say I carry
go wrong. That's why I keep telling you. I'm like, what is going to go wrong? You guys keep talking like this is going to end society. When I looked up the history of voting rights, these are the arguments that everybody makes. Like, if you let women vote, like, the end of Western civilization will happen.
But I'm not saying that.
Next thing you know, we'll have to let them own property.
Okay, Adam, do you recognize that that's not the argument that I'm making?
Well, you it seems like a little bit that's the argument you're making, that if like something bad is going to happen if they vote.
No, it's okay. It's not about if something bad is going to happen. It's that there should be a clear distinction between those we consider responsible for their own actions and those that we don't, right?
Why?
What do you mean why?
All people are responsible for their actions. Like, the one thing you're trying to teach, I would assume, I don't have kids myself, but the one thing that I assume you're trying to teach your kids is, dude, you're responsible for your actions.
Yes.
Like, that's like to the square one.
You teach that to your children until they're 18, and then they actually have to deal with that.
I think socializing kids to vote earlier would be better, because then we get more people voting. Like, people would start voting before. People don't vote because it's like this thing that comes along and is tacked on in their life when they've got so many other things going.
Is that why you think people don't vote, my dude?
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. I don't think it matters. It doesn't matter if you do vote or if you don't vote. What?
Okay, go on. Sorry. I don't want to change the topic.
I don't think it matters it's not that if it matters if you do vote or you don't vote, right? It's this is a responsibility. This is a I'm sorry.
It's not a responsibility if it doesn't matter, because by definition, a responsibility is something that you must do.
No, it's a societal responsibility. It's your responsibility to society. When you're a child, you don't have that in the same respect that you do when you're an adult.
You have tons of responsibility as a child.
Your parents have responsibility.
No, you have responsibility to be in school.
For you. No, you get arrested, or do your parents get arrested when you skip school?
Yes, you can leave.
Your parents get arrested.
Get in trouble, not you. Your parents get in trouble, not you.
Because you're responsible for your actions.
Got him! Destroyed. I think the conversation's over. I think that was the kill shot right there.
Responsibility, the social force that binds you to the course of action demanded by that force. Ooh.
Thank you, John
Aydin.
Smith. I think
Aydin. Oh my God, force.
Sorry, no. By the way, I don't agree with the system. I'm just saying that's the way that it is. If your children don't go to school, the adults get in trouble for it. Do I think children should be compulsorily
forced? Should they be forced?
I'm pulling a goddamn Adam here. I'm sorry.
That's contagious.
But Should be compulsed to go to school, not necessarily.
Compelled. There we go.
Compelled. Yeah, there we go. Not necessarily, but
if we let so right now your parents get arrested, right? If you don't go to school.
I came downstairs to smoke a cigarette.
If we say
my brain died. Sorry.
If we switch this up, right? We say children are responsible for themselves going to school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then that means that the state could arrest children, right? For not going to school because they have this responsibility that they're not keeping up with. And wouldn't that make parents not responsible for the school, but for their own children, right? They're no longer responsible for their own children. They're now children are now responsible for themselves, which means their parents can't really tell them anything. The only person that can tell them anything is the state.
I can't believe you're making the argument that children have no responsibilities.
No, they have responsibilities, but they don't have they have responsibilities to their parents, right? They don't have and their parents are responsible for them. But they don't have responsibility.
If you're a kid and you stop going to school, the authorities are going to step in. Yeah.
To your parents.
No. CPA, Child Protective Services is going to step in and take you away from your parents.
We get
and your parents are going to get in trouble. They're going to get arrested for truancy, right?
And we're talking about a lot more dangerous areas than voting, for God's sake. Oh my God, you guys, it's
about responsibility.
We're talking about a very different portion of we're talking about a vulnerable portion of the population.
It's crazy to me that you guys are making this connection that teen pregnancy and killing people in driving accidents and taken away from their parents. It's like anywhere near the responsibility of voting. It's crazy to me. You guys are the one taking crazy pills here. Like the only hold on, let me finish here. Let me finish this one point. The only reason people are on your side in this is because they're worried this other new voting constituency is going to come in and water them down. That's the only reason that they're even.
Adam, you literally did not address my argument. Instead, you started going off on three different things. I just told you it.
Let's hear it again. I don't want to.
Let's give a child some kind of responsibility, right? Like any responsibility, because when you're an adult, you get a lot of different responsibilities. You get the responsibility to vote. You get the responsibility, not to go to school,
taxes.
All these things.
As
right?
a kid, you have the responsibility to stay out of trouble and go to school.
To your parents, and your parents have a responsibility to the state.
Society.
No, you as a child don't have. You as a child do not have responsibility to society.
You are not compelled to go to school. You can become an emancipated teen. You can choose not to go to school after the age of 16. You are not compelled to go to school after the age of 16.
I think that's not.
They don't have juvie anymore. Juvie's non-existent
after the age of 16.
What happens when you get arrested for your third shoplifting charge when you're 14 years old? You don't go to juvie.
Then the parents then the state says your parents are not being responsible. They're not upholding their duties to society. And then
what does this have to do with voting? Like, first of all, I am making a clear argument here that there are certain things that we prohibit people from doing because they're dangerous.
No,
okay?
that's not my argument.
Okay.
But that's not why we don't have this.
You're saying children are not responsible for anything. I disagree. I completely disagree with that argument. Children are ultimately responsible for going to school and staying out of trouble. And if they don't go to school and stay out of trouble, then the authorities step in. They're taken away from their parents. They're potentially incarcerated in a juvenile detention center. There's all kinds of society has all kinds of ways of dealing with these irresponsible youth.
When I don't go to school, the school calls my parents, and then my parents punish me. The school does not call the police. Okay,
yeah,
they do They do after a certain period of time because they're seeing that your parents are not taking the proper responsibility over you.
You're doing good. The parents have abdicated their responsibility, and now the state is going to step in and take.
Now the state is responsible for you. Right. You become a ward of the state. You still don't have responsibility over yourself. Correct. You are a ward of the state.
Well,
So the state
anyway,
takes responsibility for you, but you don't have your own. They're not assigning responsibility to you in the
what does
same
this
way.
have to do with voting? What does this have to do with voting?
How voting is a responsibility. How do you?
It's a right. I've
No,
already
it's
disagreed with you.
responsibility.
I think you guys just have a fundamental disagreement.
was
I
a
think
responsibility.
it's a fundamental
disagreement on how you're
if voting was
conceptualizing
a-
voting, and I don't
Yeah.
know if there's ever going to be a bridge between
If voting
these two.
was a
I don't think there is,
responsibility, it would be
necessarily.
mandatory. It would be
That's not
totally
true.
mandatory.
That's not true.
Well,
You have a
responsibilities are
you have a
mandatory right here.
When you get
Responsibility, the social force that binds you to a course of action demanded by that force. Okay, there is
when
no
you get married, when you
there
get
is
married,
no
right?
force that demands you to vote. If there was, like in Australia, the force is if you don't vote, we're going to write you a ticket and you're going to pay.
When you get
What
married,
is-
I don't
right?
think we
You
should
have
use
a
Australia as a
responsibility
good
to be
basis,
faithful
by
to
the
your
way.
wife, right?
What's that? Yeah.
When you get married, you have a responsibility to be faithful to your wife.
Yes,
But
and
the
that
state is
force
not
is the
going to
contract.
arrest you. The state is
But
not
there's
going to
still
arrest you.
there is still a social force. It is a
Hell
contract
yeah.
of marriage.
Yes. So,
But
this
she's
is
completely
this is
correct.
your social responsibility.
It's
You
a
have
social, not a
social
legal responsibility. Yes, thank you, John Smith. You're completely correct.
Well, we should go to super chats. I want you to be able to make your final.
I think she's completely correct. It is a social, it is a moral and ethical responsibility, but not one that is enforced via the law. There is not a law that exists in the United States or any Western country, as far as I know, that says that if you are unfaithful to your partner, that you face any kind of repercussion, right? You have entered into a legal contract to say, I will not do this thing, and yet there is no repercussion for literally doing the opposite, is there? Besides being divorced.
She's saying she's saying that voting is a responsibility. Children are irresponsible under the age of 18. Children have no responsibility, therefore they shouldn't vote. That's pretty much your argument, right?
But that voting.
John, is that your argument?
Yeah, that's a pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, so I am steel manning your argument. You guys can knock it off in the chat talking about how I'm not listening. I understand the argument perfectly. Aydin, as I've said a million times here, and Aydin, can't steel man my argument. What's going on here? How come I understand both arguments?
No,
your argument is that children actually do.
Trying to attack you.
Your argument is that children do have responsibility.
Hell yeah, they do.
Actually, do you think they have a responsibility to the state, or
they have a responsibility to society? They have a responsibility to you and me, not to kill us.
That's
okay.
That's more of
that's
not really a societal responsibility. That's like your basic your 3 negative rights that you have. That's kind of what that is. It's not really
that's the non-aggression principle. The non-aggression principle.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. John Smith. Let me tell you about the non-aggression principle.
No, we have to. We're creeping up on 4 hours here, and these things were supposed to be 2 hours. I have so much work to do, guys.
Okay.
I have work to do too. I understand.
I'm gonna shout out my buddy Hex in the chat.
Okay, cool.
Nice. I think John Smith has done an incredible job at defending.
Yes. John, we also want to know what you said. You were in STEM. What are you studying?
Oh, computer engineering.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I'm a junior. Well, technically I'm a rising senior. And I'm not going to shout out my uni because
don't do
that. Right.
I'm going to shout out my sister Lauren because she might watch this later. I'm going to shout out my mods in the chat. And Epstein didn't kill himself.
Nice.
Oh, nice. Well, you do have a responsibility in my chat to make sure that no shenanigans are taking place. So
I'm a good mod.
Yeah.
I just automatically accept everyone.
John Smith is a good mod and has, I think, presented incredibly good arguments.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I'm only waiting out of sheer defeat to go completely fetal until after this stream, just so you guys know.
Mission succeeded. Okay, thank you so much for having me on.
Out of sheer embarrassment. Well, you did great. So thanks for coming on.
I do want to say, I don't know if I should, because it's gonna be another 40-minute conversation. That Adam, you're basically making Scott Adams' argument only in relation to why there should be no split between the genders in sports. You're making his same argument, using the same line of logic that he uses, which is faulty.
Wait,
let's do it on the next.
We can talk about that later.
Yeah, because I don't quite understand that.
Right. I know it's a process. It's a process.
I need my lightning reader.
I do want to say that it was funny before you said that you should have to pay taxes. You can give up paying taxes to give up voting. Before you even said that, I thought, wow, I bet at least 40% of the population would give up voting if they could also give up jury duty.
And I think they would to give up jury duty.
Oh my God.
They would. And I think we all have to kind of agree that people that a good portion of the population, maybe not 40%, but a good portion of the population would give up the right to vote voluntarily if it didn't mean that it had to participate in other parts of government. That's voluntarism. Totally. It's voluntarism, which is the true based form of politics. Look into it. Voluntarism.
95 Keat for $2 says tricked, duped, bamboozled, Schmeckelford. Is that
Schmeckled the fourth? I've never heard that one.
Is it that reminds me of King of the Hill, isn't it? Rusty Shackelford, the guy, the Rusty. Fake name that he always uses. Rusty Shackelford. Bastiat for $2 says child voting robs children of their adolescence. So does school, man.
True.
Well, I agree actually that school does in a way, but would we rather just children be actually? Here's my hot.
We're trying to wrap it up here.
I know my hot. It's
what's your hot take?
I know. School should be voluntary.
Oh my God! That's a bad idea.
Believe this.
That's terrible.
I can't believe this. We're to be continued. No. We have to
wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is so confusing. You think school should be voluntary, but you don't think they should vote. Adam thinks they should be able to vote, but that school should be mandatory. What the hell?
I think that school should be voluntary and they shouldn't be able to vote until they're 18 when their brain is more developed. However, they should be able to absolutely not go to school if they don't wish to. It's not going to work out well for them.
God.
But they should choose if they wish to not go to school. Idea. Fine.
Should every kid be able to transition if they want to?
No.
Oh my God! Sitch, shut your mouth. We're trying to get.
I know. Okay,
I'm sorry. We're going down into a really deep hole. Sorry.
Yes. We gotta go. But
yeah, take care, John.
Before you go, wait. Before you go, John Smith, a very dead horse for 199 says, "I think I'm John Smith team actually."
I think John did an amazing job of.
I agree.
I agree. Defending her point. Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. So before I go, I just want to say, Adam, usually I agree with you a lot more because, we all know really that Sitch is really just a Democrat.
A dirty libtard, yes.
But despite that, S-Class is best class.
Yeah! What an exit. Oh my God. That was the fucking pro exit of all time. Oh, man.
Now read this super chat, Sitch.
Oh my God. Oh. That was so good.
I know you'll want to read this.
No one for $20. Thank you, no one. Says, just want to say right before the stream ended, Sitch is best boy, no homo. Adam is best boomer. Aydin is best girl. I don't know outside of Sitch and Adam streams, but most of all, S-Class is best class. There you go.
Oh my God, that's so good. You have your own official tagline. A very dead horse for $1.99 says, I think JS team actually.
Yep.
Which we already had. A butter anvil for $2 says M Collective is best collective. Is that who's M? M Collective? Anyone?
Mega Man?
And Bond for 10 Aussie dollars. Adam isn't a check on the path. Oh, Adam. Voting isn't a check on the past, just another way of determining the future. Aren't you just saying this way of doing things was bad, insufficient, and we want to go another direction going ahead. That's basically my argument. I don't think this is why planned economies fall apart, because you get better outcomes from bottom up institutions. That's why I can't believe that Aid's for planned economies.
No.
Hold on. Okay, I think. Wait. I think M Collective is Megan Collective, and also I gotta go. So I'll see you later. But S class is best class. Thanks for hanging out, Aydin. Thanks for hanging out with me, Adam, and thank you, Megan, for joining us. See you all later.
Take care.
Bye.
Lord of the Nerds for $2 says, "Can kids vote?"
Wait. I disapprove of the thing you previously said. Go ahead. Oh,
Lord of the Nerds for $2 says, "Can't
planned economy? That's not correct. Just because I don't think 12-year-olds should vote."
I'm only playing with you anyway. So.
I know.
Lord of the Nerds for $2 says, "Can kids vote to not eat veggies yet?" Oppression.
It's oppression. It's the vegetable. It's the vegetable lobby.
What is this stuff on the ballot? It's never. This is so. These are such straw men. This stuff is never on the ballot.
It's big vegetable.
They tried to make straws illegal. Jeez, what are you talking about?
They sure did, though. To be
Lord of the Nerds for $5 says, "Take a drink every time Adam Strawman's arguments of agency or arguments of danger or rants about oppression. Sing me the song of your people." I hope that sounds like a fun drinking game. I'm all for playing that one. Stug for $5 says, "Adam, half your argument is that people should have a say in the policies that govern their lives. You also say that their vote won't actually matter." Well, a collective say. Like it's all about the wisdom of crowds. I mean, my argument has been pretty clear. I think voting delivers better public policy because more people have a say in how the life is treating them, how the economy is doing for them. You disagree, Aydin? Obviously you do. Hitch Wagner.
I can't explain it.
Hitch Wagster for $10 says, let's build a time machine and send you back to a pre-civilized time where everybody gets to vote and no taxes. But we'll miss you. I guess you're right, because things were not good back then when.
Very quickly, can I interject?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I made a lot of people very angry last night.
No.
I made a lot of people very angry last night because Tim Pool was shitpost. I'm sorry. I will do it very quickly. Tim Pool was shitposting to a degree I've never seen him shitpost. And I've been following Tim Pool for last night on Twitter. He was shitposting. He was like, taxation is theft, and then like taxation, we need to tax the rich. He was just throwing out every single possible
J-Reg.
meme.
He was going J-Reg.
Yeah, and the weird thing is that everybody just thought every tweet he made was legitimate, which I couldn't believe. Because I was also memeing along and being like, yeah, taxation is theft, and put a little snake emoji in it. But people were clearly not happy.
I think I retweeted that one. Oh my God, I thought you were serious.
I was serious, but Tim was memeing, and I cannot escape from this now. From my response from Tim's tweet, which is that people got where he literally expressed pretty much every different political view within the same Twitter thread and got every different kind of response, which I'm sure was intentional on his part.
That's
right?
Fun. Yeah.
Like right now, the tweet he responded to my taxation is theft one was something like not paying taxes is theft. And I got a ton of kind of commie-leaning people saying like, yeah, if you don't pay your taxes, you're a thief, you're evil. It's
wow.
I am shocked by, I guess, that to a degree, but the point is that I don't know what the point was now. Actually,
let me continue.
Why did I start on this?
A very dead horse for $4.99 says, "Voting is about choosing your." Voting is about choosing your future. What if kids vote to allow themselves to take HRTs without parents' consents? gives their brains aren't developed because their brains aren't developed.
Yeah.
Given their brains aren't developed. Yeah, I mean, these are such edge cases, and I mean, I don't feel like they would have. When you're making this argument, you're making the argument that kids are the only voting block and that no other voting block will check their bad ideas. My idea is that no, the bad ideas are canceled out in the voting process through the wisdom of crowds.
Well, yes, but right now we're talking about people who, by your own description, can't vote. So
we voted to make alcohol illegal. It was a huge mistake, and we took it back. So obviously, mistakes can happen through 100%. The democratic process. Yeah. So
I mean, course.
Kids didn't vote for that.
But should adults be able to determine, essentially, or should 12-year-olds? Here's I guess the big question.
Should everyone? Should everyone? You're making it, you're setting up this situation where it's like the kids against the adults. I'm talking about everyone having the right to vote.
Let's ignore the adults. Should 12-year-olds be able to decide that they should be able to take hormone blockers and prevent themselves from being able to go through puberty naturally?
No.
Why? Then why should they be allowed to vote?
Because God. Aydin,
I'm so confused by this.
Please answer that. Please answer that, because I will have answered it for the 25th time now.
I know.
Okay?
I just
please answer that for me. Please. Why is it so confusing? Do you understand?
It is confusing.
Listen. I'm gonna sit on my couch and watch a television show. Okay. There's a certain risk factor for me to do that, right? A car could come crashing through my house, through my living room, and kill me, right?
There's no correlation.
I am going to drink a bottle of Jack Daniels, and I'm going to get in my car and go on a road trip, okay? There's a certain risk profile for that behavior, okay? Do you understand that different activities have different risk profiles?
Absolutely.
Okay, so there's a risk profile for an adolescent taking a unstudied, basically experimental hormone treatment on their body, right? Okay, what is the risk profile for that on a scale of 1 to 10? What is the risk profile?
Adam, the really sad thing is that we don't know, because basically the trans lobbyist group has disallowed any additional research.
I will allow you to guesstimate the risk profile for that.
I could not. I am not a biologist, and I could not reasonably. I mean, I know what I will
guesstimate the risk profile for that is very high, potentially making you infertile, potentially giving you a hysterectomy by the time you are 17 years old. Okay. I would say that's a high risk profile. Now let's examine the risk profile for voting. I'm very curious, because I've made this argument 17 times and it doesn't seem to be speaking in. What is the risk profile? What is the risk profile, Aydin, for one person voting?
I understand that we've been rehashing.
Hold on. Risk profile for one person voting.
Hang on. I agree with you that the risk profile for an individual is nominal to a degree that it would not be statistically significant.
I would call it insignificant. Insignificant.
That's right. That's right. I meant is that it would be statistically insignificant for whatever kind of thing they could contribute towards the totality
so
of
why
voting.
Do you keep making this argument? Why do you keep dragging in these things that are huge, giant, massive risk profiles and comparing them to something that is an insignificant risk profile?
Because, my argument, which I've made before, but I will restate here, is that my reason for why not wanting to allow 12-year-olds or 10-year-olds or 8-year-olds to vote is because they do not have a fully developed brain. And that is the exact same reason. And that is the exact, Adam, hang on. That is the exact same reason why I don't believe they should be allowed to determine whether or not they're allowed to take
It has nothing to do with the risk. It has nothing to do with the risk. It's that's a non sequitur. That's a complete non sequitur. We're having a conversation here about risk profiles, Aydin.
Yeah, I feel like we're talking past each other. No, I feel like we're talking past each other, and I guess I don't understand exactly why you think it should be okay for, and tell me if I'm portraying this incorrectly, that it should be okay for 12-year-olds to vote, but not for it to be okay for 12-year-olds to determine that they want to remove their genitalia.
Correct. And because why? You're so close.
Because you're saying one does not have an impact. And I don't
one
believe
has
that's
an
correct.
insignificant, one has a very insignificant risk profile, and one has a gigantic risk profile.
I don't believe that when we talk about local politics, that that is an insignificant risk profile. When we talk about massive mainstream, national level politics, absolutely, it is nominal to the degree of being. You can just dismiss it. But the reality is that
the risk profile, now you switch from the risk profile from the individual who's voting to the risk profile for you and potentially society.
Well, yes, because we live in a
But then we're having
society.
A completely different conversation.
No, hang on.
This goes right back to what I was saying about the calculus people make, whether or not, whenever anyone's talking about expanding voting rights, the calculus people tend to make is, will this demographic vote with me? If it's no, they won't vote with me. Fuck them. They don't get to vote.
Well, that's
if
garbage.
It's yes,
First
they
of all,
will
that's
vote with me. It's like
garbage. That should not be the case.
Yes, they should. See, that's the difference between principles.
Politics should not be based on whether or not I think people will vote with me because I make a palatable argument. It should be based on whether or not I make an argument that is good and right for the people. And if you choose to vote against your own rights and vote against your own best interests, I can't really help you. But that is kind of the failure of democracy.
Who knows what's better for their own? Who knows what's better for your interests, Aydin, than you?
What you're actually advocating is that a child would be able to determine what is in my best interest as much as I should be able to determine what is in my best interest. And that's a non sequitur. It does not make sense that a child should be able to make that sort of decision. I don't understand that.
Major J for $5. Kids can vote, but they have to take a literacy test first.
Well, I actually am. I'm not going to get into it. We should go back.
Lord of the Nerds. Lord of the Nerds for $2. Adam's so triggered. Lol. Yeah, I know. You guys love it when I get triggered, but that's why I do it.
I find this absolutely fascinating.
Glib Facsimile for $2 says Rousseau is shitting and farting in his grave.
It's facsimile.
Rousseau. What is
glib
Rousseau?
Facsimile.
Oh, it's glib facsimile. Okay.
What facsimile.
Is gotcha, facsimile.
Sorry,
what is
facsimile.
Rousseau?
My dude.
What am I saying wrong?
Facsimile.
No,
facsimile.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I feel like I'm being such a piece of shit. I'm not trying to be.
You're welcome. No, I don't.
I
can take your slings and arrows. I understand. I'm your punching bag, Aydin. I'm here to be your punching bag.
No, it's not the intent.
Miss George J for $20. Kids under the age of 18 are given certain rights and responsibilities if they wish, driving, work, etc. So why keep them from voting when they're allowed to do other activities that are more dangerous on the individual level? Thank you. Someone on my side. Yes.
I actually do agree. Yes. And if you are a young person who is doing that,
oh my God, they can fucking babysit for heaven's sakes at 14. They're taking the care of an infant child into their possession.
The babysitting stuff is ridiculous.
But so triggered.
I actually do agree. I brought this up earlier. If you are an emancipated teen, then absolutely it doesn't matter when you are emancipated. You should be allowed to vote.
I'm gonna pee my pants if I don't get through these super
Go ahead, sorry. I'm gonna smoke a cigarette because I'm irritated.
Orion, the above average for $2 says Adam coming at this with big smooth brain energy. Always, of course, you know me. I don't want to think too much. I want to turn my I want to turn my free will off and just coast. That's what I'm all about. Joshua Nofsky for $5 says Adam did a good job as Kathy Newman. What? So what you're saying is I like okay, I got you. I see how that one started off as a compliment and ended poorly. Enlightened Centrist for €5.49 says Adam, voting is a human right. So are there other human rights that children don't access to the full extent? And are you fine with that? Well, I guess, I mean, they are kind of wards of their parents, obviously. I'm just like my whole.
Well, why are they? They should be free from the second that they're born, right?
They
Why
should
are they
definitely be free from the oppression of the state along
then?
with their parents.
Well, they're So
Yeah.
2-year-olds should be able to see that nap time is oppressive.
No, they get a vote on whether nap time is oppressive, and I can't imagine 2-year-olds forming a tight activist coalition on nap time. But maybe
we'll
maybe
see.
I don't know. We'll see how
We'll
smart the
see.
2-year-olds get. Color commentary for $5 says, for those that might know my slant, it pains me to say S class. Nah, I can't. A team reigns supreme. Yes.
How about this? S class
Nice.
is
S-class.
this class.
There you go.
I'm only doing it because Sitch has left.
So the color commentary. Were you the one that said in the chat A team supreme? I'm going with that. A team supreme. It like rolls off the tongue and pretty much is like in your face. So I like it. Explosive X for €5 says rights are only important insofar as they set up the space for you to shoulder your proper responsibility. Jordan Peterson, yeah. So coming out against the rights, but I hate to disagree with Jordan, but I think Jordan, I think obviously responsibilities are what give meaning to our lives, but also it's hard to have meaning to your life when you're under the boot of some oppressive regime, and voting rights take that away. I don't want to say that children are in that situation. Like by far the children in the United States have great freedoms. Children in other nations is another story.
Really quickly, I don't want to again derail, but Maslow's hierarchy of needs, freedom is up at the highest point of the hierarchy of the greatest freedoms we can possess. And I'm sorry that children don't necessarily possess all of those, but I think I honestly have a point here other than under Maslow's hierarchy.
I know Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Self-actualization. I was self-actualized when I was 11. How old were you?
I mean, I again, like I said, I became a communist when I was 14. So,
I'm just kidding. Obviously, I'm just kidding. I was an idiot when I was 11.
But
I think we all are.
Oh, Adam, you admit to it. You admit you were an idiot when you were 11, as was I, as was everyone else, because everyone's an idiot when they're 11. So why are we saying?
Well, because there is a diversity of opinions and perspectives across the nation that we all should take into consideration when we're crafting public policy and leaders for the future. So we have that anyway. There are plenty of people who are my age who are still idiots. We let them vote.
But
let the idiots vote.
I am completely okay with letting adults who have completely formed brains vote. What I have an issue with is letting people who are still developing, who will become fully formed adults in just a few years.
Nah, they're likely going to stay idiots.
I mean, yes, no, I agree that they will likely stay idiots. But the issue is that their brains aren't fully formed yet into the idiocy that it will become. So why
a very dead horse for $1.99 says grown leftists think vote just like children. Oh, grown leftists think vote just like children. True, very true. Lord of the Nerds for $2 says arguments on voting correct are non-starters here. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I agree with that. Like there is the correct way to vote for you, and people generally vote their economic interest or they vote their moral interest. But all I'm saying is if you take people out. You're not surveying their economic interest or their moral interest.
Wait,
Their moral interest, you're basically saying, I, as an
Adam.
informed individual, will tell you what your economic, and that's exactly like a leftist, just like a Very Dead Horse said.
Wait,
Yeah,
so
Vision of the Anointed.
Speaking of the leftism, would you say that people who are not native-born citizens who come here should be allowed to vote, who have not passed the normative process? Now,
no, they should pass the normative process.
Oh, okay, then why shouldn't children?
Children have been going through the normative process since they learned how to talk. They're Americans.
Until they are.
Why do you want to disenfranchise? Why do you want to disenfranchise Americans, your fellow Americans? Why do you want to vote for your fellow Americans?
Let me put it this way. I do not live in the United States. I live
America.
God bless it. Land that I love. But the reality
you abandon us, Aydin. What,
I know.
You said you were where'd you say you were? You're overseas now.
I live in the UK. So it would be as if I move here to the UK to a very reclusive, whatever, people know.
Did you give up your citizenship?
No. So but hang on. It would be as if I were to move to this small island in the UK and say, I demand that you give me voting rights because I'm an adult and because I'm here.
I'm not saying that. I don't.
But that's
guys, I want to be clear. I want to be clear. Americans can vote. Non-Americans can't vote. I'm not in favor of that. Danimal the Bruce for $4.99 says nobody should be allowed to vote but me. I know best. Exactly. So I'm for I'm for abolishing the voting age or just giving all of the responsibility, all of the privilege of voting to me. I will be your benevolent
If it's all
dictator.
to me, yeah, we'll be fine. If I'm allowed to be the only one to vote, I'll just vote in Ron Paul as permanent king.
Lord of the Nerds for $2 says, I now introduce Governor Big Bird and Mayor Elmo. Okay, yeah, that's totally hilarious. Varengetrix for $2 says UBI plus MMT equals road to serfdom. Well, that is a great place to end. This was only supposed to be 2 hours. We did almost 4 hours. As you can see, we did $441 in super chats. That's so generous of you. And I'm going to try to get us up, but I want to bring up our campaign really quick because the whole purpose of these streams was kind of to do our comic book thing, which I'm super excited about. It's nice to have a big project to be working on. Aydin, are you working on anything massive, any huge projects?
I mean, I'm working on a project to debunk rewriting Ripley, which
oh my god, that is amazing. I'm so glad to hear that. Rewriting Ripley is this Twitter account that popped up that has been targeting Fandom Menace and Comicsgate.
It is undeniably actually connected to Lucasfilm in a way.
Oh my god.
No, in a way that we can't deny. And that's actually the last point I make, because I don't care really so much about the people involved. Should we? Maybe. Actually, absolutely, we should care about it. But when I see someone post bad math, that triggers me. I don't like bad math. That's something that's very upsetting to me. So the rewriting, that's actually what I thought we were going to talk about, because we mentioned Star Wars. And I was like, oh.
We talked a little bit about it. At least it's in here, right? Maybe I'll have to clip it out.
I was fully willing to end this call, just give all my data. And just say it, because look, the reality is that as soon as I finish my document that I've been working on, and I've actually reached out to several of the people, like for example, there's a guy called Remake the Last Jedi on Twitter who was targeted by the Rewriting Ripley podcast, and they specifically labeled him or her, I don't know, it's a team of people, as alt-right. I contacted them, and they were like, no, we're not alt-right. We have no
of course not. Yeah,
whatsoever.
None of those people are. They're just fucking smearing them for no good reason.
But this person is not a YouTuber. This person has not done anything.
Oh my god!
It's just a Twitter account.
So when's the video coming out?
I don't know when it will come out, but the reality is that once I'm done with my document debunking the Rewriting Ripley document, what I'm going to do is send it to every single person involved in the Phantom Menace, and they can do what they whilst with the data, because I don't give a flying fuck about my clout or my video getting attention or whatever. It's more important that these data be made public. So there is nothing on this earth that irritates me more than bad science. And what the Rewriting Ripley people did was not science. It was
hit piece.
It was a hit piece. And I have very specific scientific analyses that can show not only was it incorrect, but I don't even know how to start. They're wrong. Okay.
Well, we look forward to whatever you're publishing. We'll go ahead and leave it there. I'm about to
sorry. I don't mean to go on a tangent.
We're but you're welcome next time we do this. We're not going to stream again until Sunday for the Sunday show. But thanks everyone. Leave us your feedback in the comments below, and we'll go ahead and leave it there. Thanks for joining in, Aydin. And thanks John Smith for coming on, and thanks Sitch for coming on. Obviously, take care. We'll see you in the next video.